follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram.
The Honourable, the Speaker.
Almighty God, we give thanks to you, the creator of the universe, and humbly beseech you to direct and prosper the deliberations of the members of this house here assembled for the advancement of your glory and the trust and welfare of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Grant that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be established among us for all generations. Amen, amen, namaste.
Public business, government business, bills second reading.
Honourable members, I shall now propose the question for debate. The question is that a bill entitled An Act to Promote for the Service of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year ending on the 30th day of September 2019 be now read a second time. Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and allow me also to thank honourable members of this chamber for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to this debate on the fourth budget presentation of this government. I wish to first place on the Hansard my very deepest gratitude to my staff at the Office of the Leader of the Opposition, my staff at the Superior Constituency Office, all opposition MPs and their staff, opposition senators, UNC councillors, aldermen, members of the National Executive, constituency executives, and activists throughout the length and breadth of our country. I also want to thank the numerous stakeholders and the multitude of citizens in their personal capacities or through various business organizations, NGOs, CBOs, FPOs, as well as trade unionists who have kindly assisted in the preparation of my response here today via giving much needed feedback during many meetings and pre-budget consultations over the past several weeks. Their reflections and realities, their suggestions and wishes, their recommendations and pleas, their demands and concerns have all been taken into active consideration by myself and my tremendous opposition team. And it is with the people's blessings and direct input that I reply on their behalf today. I want to give them the assurance that I will continue to be their voice, that I will continue to stand with them, and I will continue to stand for them and stand side by side with them. Madam Speaker, from the widespread consultations that we had, and also from the various media commentaries, we were able to identify several common crucial concerns, including runaway crime, jobs in the economy, healthcare, education, infrastructure, governance, quality of life, and of course, Petrotrin. In my contribution today, I shall address among these areas. In the course of the debate, our MPs on this side will also delve into these and other sectors in detail as per their shadow portfolios. Further, Madam Speaker, today I want to use this opportunity to share with you and the national community some of our comprehensive plans for the advancement, progression, and transformation of our nation. We have a vision for our country in which each and every citizen can enjoy a better quality of life, more prosperity, safety, access to quality health care, and improved equal opportunities for all. In these plans, we have designed them in such a way that we will be able to re-engineer our society from one that has to protest for roads, to protest for drains, to protest for water, and we'll transform that into an aspirational society. We will recalibrate the chaos that has been created by the mismanagement and incompetence of those on the other side. Our plan will help to return Trinidad and Tobago to a nation of prosperity rather than the failed state that they have reduced us to. We will get to work immediately. We will ensure that the persons they have left unemployed and impoverished will get back to work soon. And we will do this by rebalancing our finances, reforming our institutions, with particular attention to the state enterprise sector. And most important, we will do all of this with the people at the center as the single most important priority. With diligence, with resolve, and a shared vision, we can transform our nation and ensure a brighter future for every citizen of our country. But Madam, before I share our plans, we need to first identify the problems which confront us so we can talk about how we go about dealing with these problems. And from the consultations that we held, several questions were raised and several answers given, Madam Speaker. And amongst these are the following. When in those consultations people asked, do you feel safer today than 3 years ago? No. The answer was no. Do you feel secure in your job? The answer was no. No. Has the economy improved? No. Are you confident?
But the leader of the opposition has the floor, and I'm not going to allow the shouting of no. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam. I understand one of my colleagues is complaining that they're reading from a script, and he is not admitting that they were also doing the same thing on Monday.
Member for Superior, I would ask you to rise above those complaints. There's been no objection raised here, and therefore you just focus and do what you have to do.
Certainly,
okay,
Madam.
Please.
I am guided. Are you confident enough to open a business? The answer is no. Has your purchasing power increased? No. After 4 years, 3 years, are you getting better health care? Are your children getting a better education? No. Have they fixed or maintained your roads or improved your drainage? No. Are you satisfied with the behavior of the government? No. Has your quality of life improved? The answer is no, Madam Speaker. Let the Hansard record of this country show that after 3 years of the PNM government, they have created, by 2018, a return to the politics of the past, which changed the majority of the working class of this country to a life of the working poor with hardly any prospect of social mobility. In fact, in the consultations which I have referenced, a common theme was how people feel totally and completely betrayed by the Prime Minister and his government, who, like Jesus and the Savior Jesus, was sold out by Judas for 30 pieces of silver. They feel abandoned and oppressed by the policies of alienation and pauperization being implemented, and they have lost their sense of trust in the government to seek their best interests. With the impending shutdown of the Petrotrin refinery, our nation's greatest modern-day patrimony, we are now on the cusp of perhaps the greatest crossroads in our nation's history. People have expressed the view that they are now unwilling, vulnerable, and helpless pawns, victims of this government's incompetence, as the government is plunging our nation into one of the worst social and economic crises in its history. They feel treachery, they feel there has been betrayal and ingratitude for those who voted and went out to put this government into place. That would be, in my respectful view, the legacy of this government. As I will demonstrate through economic references, comparisons, and contrasts, the pattern of broken promises and outright falsehoods by this government, I dare say that they have breached their social contract with the people who elected them to represent their democratic rights and interests in the best possible way. Instead, they feel this government has returned that sacred trust with policies of destruction and tyranny. In that context, Madam Speaker, I have named the theme here for my response to this budget: at the crossroads of our nation's history, a nation in crisis, a government in collapse, a people betrayed. Madam Speaker, I indicated that we will first try to identify the problems we are facing before we go on to share our plans as to how we can bring economic recovery and a better quality of life. In that regard, I would now examine the vital signs of the economy, Madam Speaker. People call them the macroeconomic fundamentals, but they're indeed the vital signs of the body politic of the economic body. In the same way, as a human, we have vital signs that we check the blood pressure and the heart rate and so on, and we can determine whether the body is healthy or whether the body is sick. So let's look at those indicators. One of the most important ones, the most critical and the most common measure of the health of an economy is called the gross domestic product, also the GDP, and I will use the word GDP from henceforth. That is the heartbeat of the economy. The GDP is the total value of every product, good or service, produced in a country. Last Monday, with puffed up chest and smirking at the population, the Minister of Finance, when talking about the GDP, boasted, in his normal manner, that the Trinidad and Tobago economy is projected to grow in real terms by 1.9% in 2019. On the basis of this, the Minister crowed that the economy is experiencing a genuine economic turnaround, thanks to his sound fiscal and financial management. Indeed, that was actually a repeat of the mid-year review commentary when he first announced this turnaround. I want to make it very clear. No one will be happier than I if there were indeed an economic turnaround and the quality of life of all our citizens improved. But we know that we cannot believe anything this government says. And so when we look at the ministers and the government's own statistics, their own books presented to us here on Monday, we discovered evidence of the usual statistical gymnastics of this government and this minister. Far from expansion, in the last 3 years, the economy of Trinidad and Tobago has shrunk, has contracted in real terms, thanks to their policies. By 2015, when we were in office, the real GDP was $170.4 billion. In 2018, after 3 years of the PNM government under Minister Imbert, real GDP fell to $159.2 billion, a reduction of $11.2 billion in the last 3 years. Any standard one child could tell you that 159 billion is less than 170 billion. But the Minister of Finance boasts of recovery. We have the figures now, and the figures are available on the Minister's own website, the Ministry of Finance website, and we can see clearly now that there is no recovery. What this means is that under this government's management, the economy actually contracted by 6.5% over the past 3 years, 6.5%. In fact, according to their own numbers, their own figures, the GDP at current prices now is lower than when it was in 2012, than it was in 2013, that it was in 2014, and that it was in 2015 when we were in office in all those years. Under his stewardship, the size of the economy today is 10% smaller than it was in 2014, which was our last full year in office. Our economy has not grown. Our economy has shrunk under their watch. So I ask, where is the turnaround? The minister doesn't want you to look at his tenure. He wants us to just take 18 and compare to 17, but you can't do that. We have to see what has happened under this government. Minister Imbert wants us to forget, and the government wants us to forget, that they're in charge since 2015. It is this government who has crushed the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. But the deception is even more pronounced when you look at the difference between last year and this year. Do you know what accounts for the GDP figures between last year and this year? And this is the first time I've seen it. It is that they have included an item, a component called taxes less subsidies in computing the GDP. So this minister has claimed to grow the economy in the last year by doing what? Increasing taxation. Wow. Nothing to do with generating revenue, generating jobs. And for the first time, I'm seeing this in GDP numbers where you're putting taxes less subsidies. And so 30.7% increase accounted for by taxes less subsidies. The growth in the economy the minister is boasting about is because what? The increased tax burden. How many times raised the price of gas? 3, 4, 5 times. Increased on green fund, business levy, corporation tax, elimination of fuel subsidies, tire duties, online purchase tax, alcohol tax, tobacco tax, inspection fee, environmental tax, gaming taxes, all of this, all these taxes in 3 short years, Madam Speaker. By this measure, and the minister has not been able to balance the budget yet. The minister promised in his first statement, second one, that he would balance, the government would balance their budget by 2018. Has not happened. And so, by this measure, the more they tax you, they think the better the economy grows, and now you're dependent on the property tax for 2019, and then you'll come and say, growth again. Not surprisingly, Madam Speaker, in an interview recently, the minister promised no new taxes until after 2020. He's right, because we will be in office in 2020. And again, it says there will be no new taxes, when in fact, the minister proposes and the government proposes to tax your property, to tax your fowl coop, to tax your dog kennel, to tax your puja room, and all of that, which must adversely impact the pocket and disposable income of every citizen. So it is hypocrisy to say that no new tax for 2020, when they told us in 2019, you are going to impose property tax. The minister has repeatedly spoken about the improved performance of the non-energy sector. Well, let's look at the figures. Between 2015 and 2017, mining and quarrying fell by $5 billion. Wow. Not million, $5 billion. Construction contracted by $1 billion. Trade and repairs by $6 billion. Transport and storage contracted by almost $1 billion, Madam Speaker. These are the things that go to make up the GDP statistics. All these sectors have suffered deep contractions under this government. The government has touted the success in the manufacturing sector in his budget statement. But he didn't want to tell us, or has not told us, that he has now taken the petroleum and chemicals, and put it where? Into manufacturing. Because in 2017, they rebased the way that they were assessing the GDP. And so they took up all these things that were in the petroleum sector and drop it in manufacturing, and then comes here to tell this House, look, great growth in the manufacturing sector. Totally not true, Madam Speaker. Not true. Even with that additional $1.5 billion that he took now from petroleum products and so on, to expand the manufacturing sector, there is a negligible change in that sector. Interestingly, too, the manufacture of petrochemicals, refining, including LPG, petroleum support services have increased their contribution, Madam Speaker. But you know what? You've taken it out of the energy sector and you've placed it where? Into the manufacturing sector. And now it is certain that the closure of Petrotrin will further lower the recent gains in output from these sectors come 2019, should they proceed with their dastardly plan. Where is the economic recovery in all of this? I have no confidence whatsoever in the ministers on truthful claims. There was one sector the minister could have, the government and with their policies could have had some influence on over the past 3 years in office, and that was the manufacturing sector, traditional manufacturing sector. And yes, the government has influenced that sector, but they have done so negatively. So where is the economic recovery? The fact is, Madam Speaker, that thanks to policies put in place by my government when we were in office, and now inherited by this government, the country is now experiencing an uptick in natural gas production, which has improved the fortunes of the energy sector. Ask former Minister Mariana Brown, he was open in his comments, that all that uptick in the energy sector has come from the work that we did previously. Madam, I am being disturbed.
Please observe Standing Order 53. I would like to hear the contribution of the Honourable Member for Brea. Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much. So I said Mariana Brown as former minister. Yes,
Members,
Mariana.
members,
They don't like Mariana.
members,
They don't like Mariana.
outbursts, whether they be jeering, laughing, are not going to be tolerated. Leader of the
Thank you.
Opposition.
Well, if you don't like Mr. Mariana Brown because of your own politics, the head of BP, in an interview with, I believe, Anthony Wilson, made it very clear that all these incentives that were aggressively pursued under our watch is what led to the projects and to the Juniper project and many others. So the energy sector has grown in spite of the incompetence of this government and this minister. But strangely enough, they wouldn't blame us for that. They will blame us for everything else, but they wouldn't blame us for the good fortune that they're now experiencing. Madam Speaker, I'll speak a little more on Petrotrin, the energy sector leader, with reference to Petrotrin, but as I said, this time we're looking at the vital signs to see, has there been recovery, are things improving, or is it stagnant, or is it getting worse? So as a result of this government's policies, what we are witnessing in Trinidad and Tobago is a crisis of confidence in the non-energy sector, which I shared with you previously. This crisis of confidence has resulted in there being no new investment in the non-energy sector, not one. In the 3 years they have been in office, there has not been a single project, not just when I say investment, not just FDI, there's not a single new project. And don't tell me you did Unicoma, because that was done under my watch. Not a single project. No new investment since they came into office. Between the very distortionary taxation policies, including the property tax threats, runaway crime, unavailability of foreign exchange, absence of a trade and foreign policy, the traditional manufacturing sector is reeling, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises. And those are really, really the veritable engine growth in an economy such as ours. Government incompetence has resulted in the precipitous fall in our rank in the ease of doing business in 2018. We were at a modest rank of 79 in 2015. Where are we today? 102, madam. Ease of doing business. This is also hindering development in the business sector. Last year, the minister came to the parliament, got approval to establish a system of allowances for exports by manufacturers. And that would be great because you learn foreign exchange, shortage in foreign exchange. You know what happened? They never introduced it. And they are like a government of announcements. They make announcements, but they never follow through and never implement. After 3 years, the government has shown that it doesn't have a clue about what to do to grow the economy. Indeed, when we look at their book on the 2030 vision, Vision 2030, do you have a copy, please? Can you get me one there? 2030 vision, which is really not the vision, but a reporting on achievements of their government from 2015 to 2018. The first time this government has put out a book of achievements. I would say almost every single year that we were able to put out a book of achievements. But it is amazing, Madam Speaker, when you open this book, the baseline for the targeted areas, the baseline, make an example, baseline, the target, the actual measure and indicator performance. You know what you're saying? To be determined. So this is not Vision 2030 reporting on progress. This is TBD vision, to be determined. And that is the same vision of that government on that other side, to be determined. Have no plan, still to be determined. So we are reaping the whirlwind of their incompetence today. And the only plan they seem to have is what? Blame Kamla, pray for incentives that she put in place, that her government put in place for the energy sector, and wait for those to bear fruit. Earlier this year, you know, madam, non-energy manufacturers reminded Minister of Finance of the problem of long outstanding VAT refunds. This follows complaints made late last year that billions in VAT refunds were outstanding to businesses. Now, VAT refunds belong to the business community. They don't belong to the government. It's their money. It's their money that allows them to stay alive, to survive, to continue in their business. Do you know, for almost 3 hours, the Minister of Finance spoke here, and not one word, not a single word about how or when or why that they will address the issue of the VAT refunds. Not one word. And that attitude by this government to genuine business concerns is another reason that businesses are facing this in a bad way, and they are facing decline. You know, in our pre-budget meetings with people, they told us of numerous cases of small business closing down, forced to send home employees as a result of the policies of the government. For a small business, that VAT refund is very, very important. For a big business, it's very, very important too. For any business, a VAT refund. And you know what? It is also grossly unfair, because you have to pay a penalty if you file your VAT return late. But you know what? When the government holds your VAT payment, they could take how long they want. They don't have to pay any penalty whatsoever. It is grossly unfair. So you are being penalized. The business is being penalized for, you know, madam, please, I don't want to have to ask my friend, always whispering in the air. I don't know what he's whispering about. Thank you.
Honorable members, again, for those who are not speaking, I kindly ask you to observe Standing Order 53. If I have to remind specific members about that, then I will have to invoke the powers of the chair. Member for Superior.
Thank you again, Madam. I'm saying not one word about VAT refunds, a matter that is so crucial. And it is so unfair. You must pay a penalty, you know what for? You're being penalized, a business person. For what? The incompetence of the government to complete the VAT refund repayment. And don't tell me I had it so, because we didn't have this problem that you're having, that you're holding on to the VAT refunds. You know why? Your minister told us why, you know. Minister West, somewhere recently, probably expecting that the VAT issue would come up in the budget, said in an interview, and a very, very long-winded, in addressing the issue of VAT refunds, cognizance is taken of the country's prevailing economic climate, its impact on government's fiscal accounts, and its cash management capability. Accordingly, the level of refunds falls among one of several variables constantly monitored to ensure what? Government's overall macro-fiscal objectives and maintaining the scenario of other competing demands for financial resources. All that means is saying,
No pay. No pay.
no pay. Not getting it. Not getting it. So come and talk to me. Don't accuse me here, madam, of UNC didn't do nothing about it. It is your fault that you have not been able to take abroad and to take into account the hardships the businesses are experiencing. And that is why you are not growing the economy. That is why businesses are forced to let go people. More jobs being lost because of the incompetence. And you know, it's not just incompetence, it's you just don't care, Madam Speaker, just don't care. Our consultations also reveal the fears of the large class of businessmen with respect to the impending closure of Petrotrin and other companies. The effect of this failure to develop and implement any policy to stimulate the manufacturing sector is already being felt by a significant fall, Madam Speaker, in the traditional manufacturing sector's contribution by about $600 million. So where is this turnaround? Where is this economic recovery? They took a sector with tremendous potential and they turned around and destroyed that sector. Ironically, while they dismantle the manufacturing sector, the country's need for the survival of that sector grows. I've said before and I say it again, that this government is a big people government. For the small businessmen and businesswomen, they appear to be enemies. They appear to be their enemies. It is not just our domestic business sector that lacks confidence in the government and the economy as a result. The World Bank has reported that after receiving FDI, foreign direct investment, inflows of over $855 million in 2014 and 2015, this country suffered a significant net outflow of $398 million in 2016 and 17. You know what that means, madam? A net outflow. That where we were getting this in 16 and 17, we were getting the $855 million in foreign direct investment. It's the opposite. Money, the money is leaving. That's what a net outflow means. So more money going out and none coming in. $398 million US. What this means is a country is not receiving FDI during those years, and the absence of confidence in the management of the country resulted in the US dollar equivalent. This is almost 3 billion TT dollars we're talking about here. Leaving the country is a result of lack of confidence in the environment under this government. Business community is simply not investing, not interested in investing their profits, and they prefer to repatriate those profits, some by saying capital flight. I do not see the potential for growth of the non-energy sector under the current conditions, and most definitely not under this government. And therefore, I do not see the ambitious projection by the minister of a 2% growth in 2021. I have taken note of the multiple projections of the government based on the latest IMF report, and I find it extremely disingenuous, to say the least, for the minister to throw up IMF projections for growth of the TNT economy and the associated indicators when the minister knows fully well, or he ought to know, that those figures did not factor in the contractionary effect on revenues, foreign exchange generation, productive capacity, labor, government tax, and expenditure consequent to dismantling of Petrotrin. In other words, when the IMF wrote that report, they had no knowledge, and they were never advised that the government was planning to shut down Petrotrin. None. And therefore, that surprise decision to shut down the refinery without advising the advisors, the IMF, means that the projections in that report are wrong. And therefore, the minister's use of those projections, in my respectful view, is a deliberate attempt to hoodwink the population into believing a projection which the minister knows or ought to know are not true. I turn now to the energy sector, madam. I was looking at the non-energy sector. The Minister of Finance has boasted that there was a return to growth in the economy. The minister said he projected growth of 1.9%.
53F, please.
Members, I would ask every member to practice self-regulation. We are all very familiar with Standing Order 53 and what is required.
Thank you again, madam. Energy sector. Projected growth by the minister of 1.9% for fiscal 2018, which is now complete, fiscal 2018. And I want to talk about the turnaround in gas production for a short while. The growth in the energy sector, as I mentioned earlier, is due to an increase in natural gas production from the BP Juniper project, which, as I pointed out, started under our watch. That project brought 590 million cubic feet of natural gas per day into production, thanks to the administration I led. What the minister will not tell us is that BP's decision to invest over US $2.1 billion in this project happened during our time. You know why? Because of the very aggressive strategies we engaged in and due to the fiscal incentives we offered. Construction began almost immediately, and today Trinidad and Tobago is reaping those benefits. Further investment projects came, again, from work done under our watch, including Angeline, Truck, and BHP Greater Angostura, which came to fruition under our watch. When these additional projects come fully online, at least an additional 900 million cubic feet of natural gas will be produced per day, helping to reach a target of 4 billion cubic feet of natural gas, thanks to the partnership government. Had those investments not been made, we would have been in really dire state right now. We are not seeing that same level of FDI that we saw in our times now. That's a consequence of the lack of plan and vision of those on the other side. I tend to look at gas supply contracts and the business environment in the energy sector. Whilst the Minister of Energy was busy praising the best friend of the Honorable Prime Minister, AV Drilling, there was an unprecedented level of hostility between the Ministry, NGC, and companies at Point Lisas. This became evident when NGC and Caribbean Nitrogen Company publicly went to war over a gas supply contract. Tact and diplomacy are not part of their remit on the other side, Madam Speaker. CNC actually shut down temporarily. They threatened to leave the country because of the difficulty in negotiating with the government. It is no secret that plants at Point Lisas are facing significant increases in the price of the natural gas they purchase. The Minister of Energy confirmed this in a press release dated July 26, 2018, at the time when he was accusing CNC of being petulant. But, Madam Speaker, the main reason for the increase in the price of natural gas for companies on the Point Lisa's estate appears to be the new contract between the NGC and EOG Resources. That was a contract price which the Prime Minister admitted that he negotiated in a hotel room in Houston in March 2017, right here in this Parliament. Stagnation in energy. During our time, we made 14 amendments to the fiscal regime in the energy sector, aimed at creating a business-friendly environment to facilitate investment that led to the upsurge in natural gas production. After 3 years, this PNM government, we can see no investment in our future. There's only incompetence in HD, high definition. You know, someone reminded me this morning, first there was Marshall HD, not my colleague, the Honorable Marlene MacDonald. Now it is PNM HD, because you know why, madam? We see that there has not been a single new bid wrong since they came into office. We are seeing a steady decline in drilling, which can be measured in rig days. Drilling rig days in 2015 or last year in office, 2,765. Drilling rig days now under this government, down to 1,831 in 2017. And we will see a further decline next year because they have put nothing in place. We are seeing a marked decrease in exploration and production, both on land and offshore. We are seeing an unregulated aging infrastructure which is not being properly maintained. Not a single new license or a new production sharing contract has been awarded since September 2015. Wow. Not one. So how are you going to increase your production? No bids mean no further exploration. No further exploration, no further or increased supplies. All this means we are headed for a period of stagnation in the energy sector because this government is not invested in our future and the future of our children. I turn now to debt, public debt. The level of indebtedness of a nation is another indicator of the health of the economy. This PNM administration has embarked on a dangerous borrowing pathway which will take this country, if they remain in power and they continue those policies, will take this country straight into the hands of the IMF and their structural adjustment policies. As of June 2018, Madam Speaker, the country's gross public debt stood at $122.1 billion. It is the highest it has ever been in our
Madam
country's
Speaker, I would like to
history.
your attention to 53, please. Standing order 53.
Please continue, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you. It is the highest it has ever been, our debt, our public debt. It is the highest it has ever been in our recorded history. Our children and grandchildren will have to try to clean up the mess that this administration is making. This is a debt-funded disaster. This is a balance sheet meltdown. This mortgages the future generations away. Instead of transferring savings for future generations, this government is bent on transferring debt to the future generations. And I want to begin, at the start. I have absolutely no problem with a government borrowing per se. Governments do borrow. What I have a problem with is why the minister continues to borrow so much. And more than that, what is being done with this borrowed money, Madam Speaker? Because you go through the country, that money is not reaching down to the ordinary man and woman in the country. Where is this money being spent? I have not seen a single project that this government has started, implemented, and completed. Not a single one. Instead, they stand here bold-faced, taking credit for the Arima Hospital being built, the Point Fortin Hospital, and my God, last Monday, state-of-the-art Cooper Children's Hospital. Oh. Taking credit for the projects that we initiated. And then we want to know where the money gone. Yeah. Where the money gone? Over 60 billion spent in 3 years. Where has that money gone? 155 in 3 years. Over $155 billion spent in The 3 years, where's the money going? Where the money gone? I remember my colleague who used to sit in that chair for Diego Martin West, the Honorable late Prime Minister Patrick Manning, standing right there and asking, where the money gone? Where the money gone? So I'm saying, yes, people borrow. But debt must be tied to the country's capacity to repay the debt in the medium to long term, especially if the debt implicates future generations to repay. And this is the very fundamental principle which I disagree with, this government's rapid borrowing profile. In just 3 years, the government has already borrowed over $20 billion, 3 years. Today, the country's net public sector debt outstanding stands at $96.6 billion, the highest in our nation's history. And this does not include, madam, the $4.2 billion taken out of the HSF, another $4 billion lifted from the public via the National Investment Fund bond issue. And I could not believe my ears when the Honourable Minister told this House that that $4 billion from the NIF was what? State enterprise profit. Profit. You have to pay back that money. The future generations have to pay back that money. You call that profit? I never know when you have to pay back money that is a profit. I cannot understand in whose wild imagination can a debt that has to be repaid be called state enterprise profit, Madam Speaker. The minister, this government has spent a total of $155 billion since 2015. This has pushed up public sector debt by over 13%. The government, I'm sorry, madam, what the numbers are showing is an even more frightening reflection of the government's fiscal incompetence, and that is a trend of increasing borrowing. The country is being run on borrowed money with no end in sight. This is not a mark of a competent fiscal management. To make matters worse, when the minister ran out of headroom and he couldn't borrow anymore, you know what he did? He came to the parliament and used the PNN's parliamentary majority to do what? To raise the borrowing limits so he could borrow more money. Borrow more money. I will tell you about the Max out just now. I'll deal with Max, not the late Max Richards. The problem is, this government has used every possible opportunity to borrow, in addition to taxing citizens into poverty. As a soca artist once said, if you cannot bring joy, you kill joy. The problem is that no one can see, as I said, where this money is going. They're not doing it into anything for generating revenue, productive capacity. It's going into recurrent expenditure. They say it's going for debt refinancing. No projects that have come to create capacity to generate consistent revenue. Every project they mention as a revenue generator has been coming soon to a cinema near you. Coming soon. From the scandalous Sandal scheme. And now I'll share with you in a short while this dry dock Brea, which like is the latest new sliced bread being mentioned to bring revenue, create jobs. That's not going to happen any time before they're kicked out of office. Anytime. So we can look at debt to GDP ratio. Here we see again, this government has come into office. Debt to GDP has grown from 47.8% in fiscal 2015. Do you know what it is now? 61% in 2018. When we look at central government debt to revenue ratio, that was 1.5. In 2015, the ratio was 1.5. What that meant is you could pay off the debt. If you use all your money, you could wipe out the debt in 1.5 years. Today, that has gone up from the ratio of 1.5, Madam Speaker, to where it would take 2.5 years, using every cent collected by the government. So that if we took every cent collected revenue from now until 2020, the money still wouldn't be enough, Madam Speaker, to pay off the debt. Even as government robs people of their jobs, the debt load carried by every single working person is $155,000. You owe that. You owe that. There is yet more reason to be concerned. Under this government, foreign debt has jumped 26.6% of total debt, June 2018. When we were there, it was 16.3% of total debt, 2015 September. What this means is that increasing demands are being put on dwindling foreign exchange reserve. So we now have a situation where the government actually is competing with the private sector for foreign exchange, because they have to get that foreign exchange to pay foreign debt. Today, half the country's foreign reserves are mortgaged to repay domestic debt, external debt. All these factors point to an inherent danger of our country being unable to meet runaway debt, particularly foreign debt. And you know what it does? It puts us at the mercy of countries engaged in what has been described as debt diplomacy. And what is this debt diplomacy? What is it? When a country, a particular country, built the port in Sri Lanka, when they couldn't pay for it, what did they do? They take the port. In several countries, in Zambia, debt diplomacy, if you cannot pay your debt. And the rate we are racking up this foreign debt, we are heading in that direction. There is no policy statement, you know, which tells us that attention is being paid to this critical factor of how we are going to pay this massive growing debt. How they propose, and I demand the government to tell us what it is, what are you going to do to repay this debt? But you see, they don't really care. It's borrow now, spend now, because they know they're not going to be there for much longer. Borrow now and spend it, and leave it for others to catch us, they say in Trinidad. You borrow your fund. What do you do with the money? I said, where the money go on? You know what? To fund the addiction to vanity projects, to commit the expenditure of foreign exchange to repay foreign debt, continue to deny access to foreign exchange to citizens and small businesses for the benefit of the friends, family, and financiers, the Triple F Club, Madam Speaker. This minister is drowning us in a sea of red, sea of debt, a red sea of debt, and says it's because they have no money. Now, if we believe that, how did they get the money to spend on these vanity projects? How and where? You know, the Minister of Finance told us October 5th, 2015, and rather than wasting money on expensive white elephants and vanity projects, we will expend substantial resources on training opportunities in all areas. It is clearly evident that the Minister has a short memory, because none of these promises have been kept. While the Minister and the government ran up and down this country, misleading the population, the treasury was empty, country was running on fumes, they found money to spend on what? What are their priorities? What are their priorities? These vanity projects. Different kinds of priorities. And so, punishing the population for three years. They took bread and butter out of the mouth of ordinary people. Babies went hungry. Children can't get medical attention because their priorities weren't falling. Paintings, 3 million. Soca on the Seas, 0.5 million. New Benz for the Prime Minister, 2 million. CL Financial Sexual Harassment Settlement, 3.5. A hello and goodbye telephone call to the US President, 16 million. Taruba Stadium that has no accreditation, still none, 130 million. A red house that they promised to deliver in May 2018, where are we now? September, October 2018, 440 million. Boko Estate, 174 million. Here this one, Madam Speaker. A loan to a toilet paper factory. 30 million. Up to today, we cannot find out who are the owners of that toilet paper factory because they are registered institution. Trade unions. Massy Communications, 225 million. And I see we are getting a new brand now. I don't think we're not going to be mobile anymore. I think it's called Amplia. So when you see Amplia, you know where it's coming from. It's nothing it's nothing from Mars or space. Massy Communications, that's where it's coming from. Ernst & Young Audits, 20 million.
20.
Ernst. You know which one. You know them very well. You know it very well. Jazz Festival, 20 million. House in Tobago, 15 million. Diego Martin Stadium without any tendering process, 200 million. but which tender process so select. Carbo Star mobilization fee, 13 million. Ocean Flower mobilization fee, 20 million. So did we pay that 20 million? Now where is this Ocean Flower to now? I know they came and they parked up somewhere. I don't know if they've gone again. Hilton swimming pool, 7 million. Wetleys plane from Liat, 4 million. Fetmatch to open the Brea Stadium. Roman bills, 59,000. Rumpin bills, 95,000. Settlement of inappropriate behavior in the Ministry of Sport, 150 million, 150,000. And we are still waiting for the report, Madam Speaker. 4 boats without any proper procurement, 1.4 billion. A dog pond, a dog pound, 3 million. You know, Madam Speaker, old people have a saying, when dog better than dog living better than man, you know you're really going through in a bad place. The Auditor General has also reported, this overdraft, madam, just go across the floor. The Minister has a budget 1, budget 2, budget 3, budget 4, and I think it going down to his grave, he'll still be saying this, that this government, the government we had, ran the country on, max out the overdraft, running on fumes and so on, making a lot of noise. Whilst we made use of the permissible overdraft limit, I want to remind the Minister of Finance that in fiscal year 16-17, and I can only speak for this because we have the numbers printed in black and white, we'll have to wait to see what happened in 17-18. For fiscal 2016-2017, the Minister actually crossed the limit of the overdraft by over $3 billion. $3 billion. This is found in the Auditor General's report, 2017. I got the page because they say we lying. Auditor General Report 2017, page 97. The Auditor General also reported that this exchequer account, that's the one that is where this overdraft issue comes from, has been in overdraft since 2003. Since 2003. Let me also remind this Minister of Finance that the latest IMF report recently out has scolded the government for persistently maxing out the overdraft at the central bank. In fact, the IMF recommends in this report that this government settle the outstanding overdraft balance at the central bank and rely on market-based finances for its fiscal operations. And may I remind this Honourable House that in December 2017, please, Madam.
Member for Superior, please continue.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, stop muttering. Please, Madam, through you. If you don't like what I'm saying, leave. Don't like to hear the truth.
And Member for Princess Tong, I'm on my legs. Honourable members, there is and it's coming from both sides, a consistent buzz, and there's also what could be a sort of echo in respect to when the Leader of Opposition is speaking. Again, I urge members to self-regulate. For members who cannot self-regulate, they're always invited to take a walk and return. We understand what is the decorum that is required of us. Member for Superior.
Thank you very much. The truth offends, Madam Speaker. I remind this Honourable House that in December 2017, the same Honourable Minister came running to the Parliament to do what? To increase the overdraft ceiling from 15% of revenue to 20%. So the Minister came not just for this overdraft, but he also came to increase borrowing limits for other matters. So twice he came, Honourable Minister came to increase these limits. The same Minister who repeatedly chastises the government island for using the overdraft facility, chastises us, has done the same. I will call a spade and a hypocrite a hypocrite. The difference is we can show you the schools, over 100 schools, the hospitals, the police stations, the roadways, the highways and byways, the bridges. Call us box rain government. That is why we have stopped taking care of those things, and the flooding in Port of Spain, the flooding throughout the country. Everywhere. That is why we were able to build the aquatic center, we were able to build the velodrome, the tennis center, the hospital in Vancouver. All these projects, that's where it came from. So we have projects that you can touch, projects you could see. This government has nothing to show for their spending. That is a level of hypocrisy. I turn to another indicator, Madam Vital Sign, foreign reserves. And this is grave cause for concern in this climate where the Forex issue is such a controversial one. In a country driven as our country is import-driven, our ability to buy goods and services, from food to medical supplies, hinges on our ability to generate and manage foreign exchange, and this then is a very important indicator for the health of the economy. In the minister's very first budget, delivered October 20th, 2015, the minister declared, and I quote, "Rebuilding confidence in the management of the foreign exchange market represents a central thrust as we revitalize our national economy. The current situation is untenable and has contributed to great uncertainty and capital flight." You see how you could talk when you're in opposition, Madam Speaker? And when you come into government, the Honourable Minister changed his tune completely. The situation, what the Minister was saying then is that situation was unacceptable. And yet, at that point in time, Madam Speaker, under our watch, because we had just come out of September 2015, October 2015, this minister was saying that the situation was unacceptable. And this was a time when our country was holding a foreign reserve of $10.5 billion US. And on top of that, what does that do? $10.5 billion is almost 1 year of import cover. Today, after 3 years of this PNM government, the level of net foreign exchange holdings has collapsed by 27%. And from 10.5 billion US dollars has fallen to 7.6 billion US dollars. And that is just about 8 months import cover, the lowest our reserves have been for over a decade, Madam Speaker. And you want to talk about growth and recovery? Last month, Republic Bank, RBC Royal and Scotia all confirmed that the demand for foreign exchange far outstrips the supply, that the banks were unable to satisfy customers' needs. And do you know why people are seeking for this foreign exchange, Madam Speaker? RBC reported they wanted it for their businesses, the Forex to settle outstanding bills. They wanted it for to pay foreign supplies. They wanted it for capital investments. They wanted it for regular travel. They wanted it for education, and they wanted it for medical needs. TTMA president noted that while things have improved a little, it is still not at the level required for easy access for the manufacturers. The Chamber, Gabriel Farrell, reported that a June 2018 survey of their members revealed that many of them continue to have challenges and so on. And they are not alone. You remember the very embarrassing situation with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines when they were forced to ask their Prime Minister to intervene in order to access foreign exchange in spite of having the TT currency accounts. And they are not alone. In the past 3 years, several companies have closed down again because of this difficulty with Forex. Persons who need Forex for medical purposes, citizens sacrificing to send their children abroad for an education cannot get this foreign exchange. Businesses, average nationals, you know, you go to the banks and you go to beg for $100 a day, and you have to make several trips. This problem will worsen, Madam Speaker. The agreement to purchase gas from Venezuela will need more Forex. The purchase of these vessels, and we don't know proper procurement, that is more Forex. The shutdown of Petrotrin, and where we will have to buy all the refined products, the lubricants and the LPG and all those other products, bitumen, all the things they make, all fuels, all refined petroleum products, what you have to use? Foreign exchange, because we will not be making these things again. Imported. The signing of multiple agreements with international companies on the basis of concessional loans, again, have to pay back. And so that is what we are seeing in the future, that it will only get worse. In the last 3 years, not a single project, not one that you could point to say, look, this will generate foreign exchange. And don't come and tell me for some bubblegum or Miss Tootsie factory or something. To generate foreign exchange, to create jobs. All these people are going to be losing their jobs. All the persons who have lost their jobs, under this government. No project. The projects like the Sandals, Tobago, La Brea Dry Dock, shrouded in secrecy. You don't even know what it is the country will get. The only plan this government seems to have is to continue to raid the HSF and to borrow, borrow, borrow. That's all the plan they have. When we look at inflation as well, the government came, minister came, patting himself on the back, boasting they have lowered inflation rate to 1% in August. That's deceptive. Deceptive to say the least, to be boasting about this rate as though it's such a great thing. Because one, they have rebased the consumer price index recently. And again, you've changed the methodology, so the inflation rate could be deceptive, as they would have altered the weights of the items in the basket of goods. Just like what I talked about the GDP, where they rebased the components in the GDP. Secondly, the economy is characterized by low business confidence with a stagnant non-energy sector and inflation approaching near zero. These are signs of a deflationary economy. And thirdly, rising unemployment levels. What happens? You don't have money. So what happens? Demand falls. So what happens? Low inflation rates. And please remember that prices are still rising. It's not that the prices are not rising. The prices are rising. A low inflation rate means it's rising at a lower level, but they're still higher. And that will be borne out, Madam Speaker, from data we found from the Ministry of Trade, where food prices, food prices on a basket of goods, and this is Ministry of Trade data, between 2015 and today, using data for the Ministry of Trade and Industry, a basket of goods has increased by over 21%, Madam Speaker, 21%. The Ministry of Trade lists 117 items that could be found on their website with the prices, and so it tells us what has increased or decreased. You'll be surprised to hear, or maybe not surprised, that out of the 117 items on that list, 101, the prices have gone up under this government compared to the prices that we left the country with. This then tells you purchasing power has decreased and so on. While economists have disputed the inflation rate given by the minister, any student studying principles of business in Form 3 and up could tell you that when demand is low, inflation is also low. Somalia is a prime example of that. They have a very low inflation rate, yet there's tremendous economic strife. And if one were to check, Madam Speaker, the global index, we don't rank as the lowest. We rank as 88 on that global index of inflation rates. So these are the economic indicators, or vital signs as they were. And as I close off this section on the health of the economy, there's another major factor which affects the health of the economy, and that is fiscal policy of the government. That is clearly in the hands of the government, fiscal policy. In some of the problems I raised earlier, the government's hand, their fiscal policy is there. I refer in particular to the current taxation and expenditure policy undertaken by the government, which is resulting in an investment climate unfavorable to fostering business confidence and engagement. The government has adopted a fiscal policy of increased tax, of sale of assets, and of borrowing to generate funds. But they're not using these funds to build productive capacity. Instead, they're using the funds, as I say, for vanity projects and recurrent expenditure. The result is predictable. The continued contraction of the economy, which in turn has caused a sharp reduction in the tax base, so that in 2018, the revenue from taxation was almost $11 billion lower than what it was in 2015. More tax, less revenue. That has been the hallmark of this government. The last 3 years, we have seen a virtual collapse in expenditure. That's a serious matter under what is known as a Capital Development Program, the PSIP. In 2015, expenditure was $8.16 billion in 2015. This is to build roads, this is to build houses, this is to build schools, the police stations, infrastructure development throughout the country. Capital, some things you could feel, you could touch, you could taste. You can't taste, you would feel it. You will see it in front of you. When you drive on the highway, you will see the hospital. When you go down to Diego Martin, you will see the high-rise health facility there. When you go to Point Cumana, you will see school people there. When you go to Paramin, you'll see the school people there. Health centers throughout. And you see this thing? Well, they're going to open some health center or something for 24 hours. So, you know, some people may call that playing smart with foolishness, madam. Sure, going to open a health center, oh, God, wow, great. Why do you close something down and then come to say you're going to open it back? Why? Again, bringing people for 3 years, man. So more tax, less revenue. 3 years, as I'm saying, this collapse in a PSIP program. 8.16 billion to 3.53, and then comes here in the most, demoralizing manner, in the most derogatory manner, to talk about the most profligate spending, the worst spending, oh, they spend. First of all, what you scream across it that we spent, we didn't spend that. We spent less than that. But we were able to do so many projects across the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. And then some members, madam, accuse us that we did no work in their constituencies. Well, my members here will tell you, you know, in this budget debate, we will remind you work was done in every constituency of Trinidad and Tobago. Everyone. Even in Tobago, we set up the integrated campus. In Tobago, we set up these MIC centers. Look, I'm going off track, my members will. Excuse me. They will develop and go into the details of the achievements to see where that money went. We can account for where the money went. So, no fiscal stimulus to support a recessionary economy. No fiscal support to grow the economy. Even more alarming is that the government lacks the capability to implement much needed capital projects, and even with their own vanity projects. The minister, in the review of the economy, the government confesses there, expenditure on the government's PSIP in 2018 was lower than budgeted. This was due to, this was due to delays in the implementation of projects, variations in the scope of work for several projects, non-submission of claims by contractors, and administrative delays in processing claims for payment. So first, lower budget, why? Delays. Incompetence again. Why? Variation in the scope of projects. So you come and tell us, you know, you wanted one of your projects is about Maracas Beach. Maracas Beach. And say that we abandon the project. Nothing is further from the truth. The contractor was in place, and by the way, same contractor you want to sue in court, you give him back the contract. Calling people cartel and all kinds of things and spoiling people's names, and you're going to give back that same contract, the contract. Anyway, so the contractor there, when you came into office, you fired the contractor. Fired fired the contractor. Yes, look, Minister, police may not admit we fired the contractor. They fired the contractor, madam. To do what? To delay the project? Fired to rehire? And therefore, delays, variations, and they vary the project. You know, if you had done something, or you talk about government in continuity, if you had taken up those projects that were in train, today you would have had so many projects to deliver to the country. But bad mind and spite and malice, you wouldn't do it. What you will do is come and stop it, and then come and change the name. Change the name. The Coover Children's Hospital is not the Children's Hospital, is it? Coover Training, what and what and what. Change name. A rose by any other name is still a rose. Still a rose. Still a rose. So you could run, but you cannot hide the fact that those were projects under the government island. The government has run very large budget deficits over the years, and I will predict, I'm not a CEO1, but I'll predict that there will be 5 years of budget deficits under this government should it stay that long in government. The other area is with respect to labor. This is unemployment and labor. I think this is one area, it's like a great betrayal, great betrayal. The worst examples of hypocrisy and betrayal. And there have been many, but this one with deliberate brutalization and terrorizing of the nation's labor force. When the then opposition leader asked the country to vote for his party in 2015, the member met with members of his union, signed agreements, promised all manner of interaction, access and support, appointed a former PSA president as the Minister of Labour to represent labour interests. By the way, is the Minister of Labour still the PSA president? I can't say because we have not seen any work being done in the Ministry of Labour in favour of workers. And so, you will recall, workers were told the PNM will establish an appropriate set of minimum wage rates. Minimum wage rates. 3 years, nothing. In office, we raised the minimum wage rate once, twice. They promised we will ensure through employment exchanges managed by the regional corporations that workers can transition with job-specific training to self-employment and better paying jobs. Never happened. What has happened instead? What has happened instead? On their own data, their data, and that data is not the amount on their own data. And again, madam, you know what's happening? Why can we not get data for fiscal 2018? The only data on unemployment and persons without a job is from the third quarter of 2017. Fiscal 17, you know. Fiscal 17. A whole budget year and we can't get any numbers. And those numbers, based on their own books, over 30,000 persons are without jobs, who had jobs in 2015. Now that is only what is registered. There are so many out there in the informal sector where their numbers will not get into the book, but in their own numbers. 30,000 persons who had jobs in 2015 don't have. So they've not got a simple promise. And what happened to this truck in something in
Canada.
Hola ArcelorMittal? What happened to the 10-point plan or the 20-point plan to help those workers? So that you see, I don't believe a word, and no one should believe this government when they want to come and say they will take care of frontline committees when they shut down Petrotrin. They'll take care of the Petrotrin workers because when Carney was shut down, all those promises were made. Up to today, those farmers are still waiting on some of the fruits of what was promised to them. So instead of getting employment opportunities, the government is scrapping entire industries, madam. The closure of Petrotrin means nearly 5,000, 6,000. The Honourable Prime Minister said the numbers really don't matter, but I totally disagree. These are human beings with families. The numbers matter. Are you saying that the numbers don't matter? So you took a decision to shut down this refinery, and you don't know how many workers are there. What kind of reckless behavior is that? You don't know. 1,700, 2,000, 5,000, don't you know? But yet you took a decision to close it down, not knowing how many families. These are people that pay mortgage. And these are people that send their children to school, man. So we're not concerned about creating jobs, just about taking away jobs. The minister said the number of persons at the streets decreased marginally. Over 50,000 people have lost their jobs since they came into office, 30 on their own admissions, and from anecdotal evidence and reports, there's about 50,000, man. And the minister come here to boast growth, recovery, turn around. Well, the only turn around you get in here, is run around from this government. Run around. So, not true marginal. You see, again, when you don't see these numbers. Numbers don't matter, but they're not numbers. They're people. They're human beings with hopes and fears, with tears of joy, and with cries of pain, with love in their hearts, with families. That's how we have to see them. And that is when we see them as numbers, as humans and not numbers, we will take care of them. We will provide for them. So, in 2018, the minister says the unemployment rate is 5%. He said that it was not substantially different to rates in 2011 to 2015. Well, let me educate him. And go back and check your own books in the Ministry of Finance. Your own books in the Ministry of Finance. In 2011, under my watch, unemployment was 5%. In 2012, it was 4.9%. In 2013, 3.7%. In 2014, it was a historic 3.3%. 2015, when we left, 3.4%. That's what they met when they came in. Earlier this year, the minister attacked several economists because their views were not aligned to his views. He said, there are people in this country who just talk out of heart. They know nothing and they just talk. They say things and they have no facts. They have no information. They have no data. They don't have a clue what they are talking about, but they just say things. Madam Speaker, he was speaking about himself. Speaking about himself. And so there's been a failure by the government to engage with and enable an environment to create jobs. This is unacceptable, Madam Speaker. It is a critical factor impacting on productive capacity, on our revenue base, on our tax base. The Minister of Finance is making prescriptive billion-dollar decisions, promoting projects of all kinds in various locales without the benefit of information. When you can come here, and I really don't think the Honourable Member for Diego Martin Otis would lie in the Parliament. I don't believe that. So therefore it means he just doesn't know that his statement is incorrect. You must probably, I would advise the Honourable Member to read all these books you have in your Ministry of Finance. And in fact, they're online, so anyone can read them. Now, from this check on the vital signs that I've gone through, Madam Speaker, it is clear that our economy is in bad shape. The economy is sick, sick economy. We are facing a crisis of confidence. We have heard of no comprehensive, concrete, viable plans from government. And therefore, let us now examine an economy that is recessionary, coming out of a recession, whether coming or coming out not. I don't think so, from the vital signs. What prescriptions? If you are sick, you get your prescription. What prescriptions have they got to fix our sick economy? They have come with repeated promises. Yes? Year after year, repeated promises. They have come with typical P&M promises never materialize. And then they come with pie-in-the-sky projects to deal with fixing this economy. There's a history of repeat, no performance, no delivery. They said, in 2015, let's do this. They said that they had a doctor to fix the economy. But based on these economic vitals, Madam Speaker, I am saying that this doctor is guilty of malpractice and should be fired. So repeat promises, never materializing. Budget 1, Budget 2, Budget 3, Budget 4, we heard the repeated promise of the establishment of a TTRA, the Revenue Authority. Budget 1, Budget 2, Budget 3, Budget 4, repeated promise of property tax and efficiency for tax collection. Budget 1, Budget 2, 3, 4, they came, promised to complete Point Fortin Highway, no progress since we left office. Budget 1, Budget 2, Budget 3, Budget 4. Madam, they complain in the open section. Well, that work was done by us. Huh? That was done by us. So be careful. Be careful what you take credit for. Be careful. Budget 1, 2, 3, 4. We have heard about the Toko Highway. Up to this time, no construction has begun. In some of our rural areas, fishing is the lifeblood. Once again, Maruga Fishing Port. New port for Maruga is in its design stage. 3 years later, 3 years later, you're now designing. You will never finish before the election. Never finish. Budget 1, 2, 3, 4. Promise against San Fernando water project. There's some water. San Fernando waterfront project. So far, the land has not even been acquired, far less there will be any construction. Again, in budget 2, 3, and 4 now, Minister pronounced the Curab interchange. Up to this time, the acquisition of the land has not been completed. Budget 2, 3, and 4 promised the delivery of Point Fortin and Rima. Again, waiting, waiting, waiting. In the last budget, the minister assured us they're going to get open the children's hospital. They will find a way forward 1 year later. They're still looking for an operator. Still waiting for an operator. Budget 1, 2, and 3, and 4, Minister promised Sanders project. Up to this day, we are nowhere closer to laying 1 brick, turning 1 shovel of gravel or cement being put down by the side. Madam Speaker, that's the performance. Promise, government buy, announcement. Never follow through, never implement. And come back in this budget when times are so crucial to repeat these projects, almost all of them. Even that A&R Robinson Airport. That was, come and tell us about that already. Well, yes, we named the airport. That is after the late A&R Robinson. And as we are speaking about former Prime Minister, former President, Mr. Robinson, please excuse me, madam. I think I would talk a little bit at this juncture about the sea bridge. It really hurts my heart, as it probably hurts the heart of everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's talk a little about that sea bridge. The country continues to suffer under this government, having endured the utter incompetence of not just 1, but 2 ministers of Works and Transport, which led to a total collapse of the sea bridge between Tobago and Trinidad. That has been more destructive to the economy of Tobago than any Category 5 hurricane has been. It is a total collapse of business in Tobago. Tobago business has been flattened by the incompetence and negligence of those on that side. The most troubling part of it all is that the nation has received no assurance that this government will ever change its process and methods for procuring capital assets. Until such time, we are doomed to suffer the consequences, such as we endured with Saga, the Galleon's Passage, having been purchased some, how long ago is that, 10 months? Some 10 months ago, this Galleon's Passage, and it is yet to make a commercial sailing. And I'm looking forward to the day when it actually limps across to see what's Duke in his spirit. He has promised to race. He's promised to race the Galleon's Passage. So we look forward to that, the great race. This can only be described as a monumental waste, burning a hole in taxpayers' money to the tune of over $120 million, you know. $120 million, so a boat they buy 10 months ago. Can't move, can't work. You should be so ashamed. So ashamed. Reminds us of the MV Sue, bought when Martin Ortiz was a minister at that time too, which never sailed. I think it never sailed. Never sailed. And just imagine, after being serviced a mere couple days ago, the deck of the Cabo Star was reportedly flooded out on his voyage yesterday. Just seemed to have a thing with boats, a very blight with boats, yes. From the evidence presented, madam, we can see a clear strategy for going down the cliff. We're going to fall off the cliff. That's where we're heading. Having presented my case, madam, I leave it for the population to judge. The other game changer, and again, why would you talk about game changers? Running a country is not a game. It is serious business. Serious, serious business. And so that dry dock, Brea dry dock, well, oh gosh, every praise is on this dry dock now. Minister of Finance, Prime Minister. Based on a recent story in the Trinidad Guardian, Prime Minister, for the Prime Minister, this single Brea dry dock project is his government solution to our foreign exchange crisis and our need to grow the GDP. The deception is not just that they are asking residents of Brea to vote for them in 2020, you know, in the hope of getting jobs in 2023, because that is when the project will start operations. So what will you do now? We are in 2018, 2019, 2020, look, you might as well dead now before that thing will happen, that project will come on stream. The project will bring no foreign exchange for years. You cannot put all your eggs in that basket to say, bring me foreign exchange, you're not going to get it. And in the meantime, the country will continue to decelerate, continue to go deeper and deeper into the abyss. Deception is not the untruth that a large number of thousands of people that have been fired from Petrotrin will bring jobs, will go down there and get a job. I mean, the skill you need to work in a refinery and exploration and drilling, those are not the same skills to work on a dry dock. So don't give people false hope, because this is like, I like to use it with Ponzi scheme, but it will collapse. This is going to collapse. The economy is going to collapse. We are falling over the cliff. So it's not just that there are no local content agreement signed. What is most striking, and why I say this, it's not going to happen soon, is the admission that they have not done a market analysis yet. They have not done a market analysis. So on what basis all these promises are being made? How do they know that this project is even viable? How do they know 5,000 jobs will be created? You are making it up as you go along. A promise that the Chinese have agreed to arrange for their ships to use the Brea facility, that's no guarantee of a market, you know. How many Chinese or other vessels have expressed interest in coming to Trinidad to be dry dock? Is the plan to build the facility at some unknown cost and hope that it is used? That's why you have to do the market analysis. What happens if you can't attract sufficient clientele? Will the dry dock then have to go to a foreign state? Is this like another WGTL waiting to happen? Waiting to happen, leaving us in billions of dollars of debt on junk. Even worse, the report states that China will control 30% of the equity, government 70%. What is the source of these funds? Is the government going to be taking another loan? If this is so, then there's another significant demand for foreign exchange. The government has already wasted 3 years hopelessly trying to stabilize the economy. And given their very poor track record of economic management, they will waste another 2 years if they are allowed to remain there, if they can keep themselves there into 2020. Their policy making is characterized by incompetence, illiteracy, and insensitivity. Sure, thank you. Madam, having examined the vital signs, having shown how the government's prescriptions to heal the sick economy are not working, that they already have no plan to fix the economy, I want to share, with your leave, a UNC National Economic Recovery and Diversification. Because you see, all is not lost. There is hope. Our economy can be fixed. Our country needs the implementation of a strategic and systematic treatment protocol because the economy is sick, to pull us out of this illness they have inflicted on us. The first critical step is to state the obvious. You must have a plan. In keeping with its forward-thinking approach towards building independent, self-reliant, resilient, and confident society of the future, the UNC has been working on a credible economic plan to regain fiscal balance, stabilize public debt, stop the bleeding of official reserves, and to bring our economy back on a growth trajectory. And the party that I lead, the UNC, has the plan that can move us forward. Let us share it with you, madam. We shall engage and implement the following. I've spoken of it many times. The digital economy in the age of the fourth industrial revolution. The innovation culture. The entrepreneurship impact. The diversification strategy. Good governance. Corporation tax issues. Specific job creation. And state enterprises reform. The global digital economy, I have articulated the need to adapt, as I say, to the fourth industrial revolution as a means of achieving sustainability for future generations. And I've been advocating this as far back as 2010. That's when we began the laptop programs, then when we started to roll out broadband and so on. We had begun that step. The technological phenomena of the digital age offers fantastic opportunities for growth and development. In addition to the digital economy, I've articulated blue, green, silver economy as models for achieving these outcomes. Last year, Madam Speaker, it was estimated that the spending in products and services in what is known as the Internet of Things alone would have been around the 2 trillion mark globally. The development of the technology sector to train our people to take advantage of these opportunities presenting themselves in this moment in time, but this government has no interest or knows nothing about creating. They only know about shutting down, Madam Speaker, and destroying. These strategies will all be integrated with what's known as the circular economy. And the circular economy is a model to augment the other mechanisms I mentioned for achieving growth. The circular economy, as the name suggests, is a model that is an industrially regenerative system by design. It replaces what is known as the end-of-life concept with restoration, shifts towards the use of renewable energy, eliminates the use of toxic chemicals, which impair reuse and a return to the biosphere, and aims for the elimination of waste through the superior design of materials, product systems, and business models. Excuse me.
Speaker 53F, please.
Member for Brea, please continue.
Yeah, I was talking about the circular economy. At its very core, this circular economy, as I said, limits waste, recycles materials, in addition to reducing the carbon footprint. And all this is in relation to now when we talk about climate change and all the ills of climate change. So, global digital economy, the other areas that I mentioned, and working all through the circular economy. Secondly, madam, prosperity through innovation. Our future, the future of this country, under a UNC government, will be built on a platform of sustainability, inclusive of values, and will promulgate a culture of tolerance, peacefulness, happiness, where this would be our hallmark. We will create the environment required for innovation and creativity to celebrate our people's own innate talents and abilities, and emerges the best in us in a worthwhile way. Technological innovation is disrupting, Madam Speaker, as we speak, every sphere of human existence. Manufacturing is being disrupted with 3D printing, which has also created new opportunities for the health sector. As we work on, the work is underway across major labs in tissue printing for kidneys, Madam Speaker. It's amazing. Transport delivery systems are being disrupted as drone technology is being perfected. Amazon's drone technology, Prime Air, is presently being tested. Programming, reprogramming, testing, piloting, repairs, and maintenance and innovation to create unique brands are all real new opportunities rapidly developing. These are just a few areas in the vast, uncharted galaxy of the digital age, in the Internet of Things, other driverless vehicles, 3D clothes manufacturing, and so on. Madam Speaker, I can go all day through the vast array of opportunities in the digital age. Augmented reality will help surgeons see inside the human body, protect workers in operating in dangerous situations. Robotics, a combination of machine learning and algorithms, automation and coding all present opportunities in this vast galaxy of the digital age. Quantum computing will give the processing power of real-time online information. Plasmonic materials are light-controlled nanomaterials which can be used to fight diseases, madam, like cancer. Electroceuticals to fight disease. Personalized medicine are just some of the innovations happening already. So where do we fit into this? Are we grasping these opportunities, and how do we grasp them to create these jobs for today, but jobs for the future? I've said it before, that many of the jobs that we know now, as they are, will no longer exist. Already many of those jobs have been wiped out because in the more developed world, because the machines are doing it, the robotics, the artificial intelligence, and so on. Another area I think we can grow is through entrepreneurship. This empowers people and enhances and develops economic growth. Madam Speaker, under a UNC government, entrepreneurship in the digital age and global economy will be encouraged, fostered, nurtured, and empowered by specific initiatives, programs and projects to accomplish outcomes for economic empowerment and economic development. We will establish a policy framework for prosperity of entrepreneurs in technology, manufacturing, and other inbound and outbound logistics to ensure their development. We have spoken before about the blue economy as a way of diversification that will encompass the utilization of our marine resources, marine economy, the marine industries, and so on. The green economy, we've spoken before as an instrument of diversification, utmost importance to the environment, especially land-based assets and resources. Agriculture is a very critical component to national security.
I think we've reached a little beyond the halfway mark. I am having a little difficulty in hearing the member for Superior. I'll ask you again for the final time to please measure your volumes in accordance with Standing Order 53.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm reminded by my colleague that Prime Minister Barbados, Mia Motley, has in fact set up a ministry of the blue economy in Barbados. So I've spoken of the blue economy, green economy, the green energy economy, which deals with alternative renewable energy. That is a huge source of savings and wealth creation today. We have already seen how India and Denmark and Norway, they engage in this as a productive sector. Please, Madam, again. Wrong again, you know.
Members for San Fernando West, Diego Martin West, Aruka Maloney, I am hearing you all. Okay, I am hearing you. Member for Superior.
Thank you, Madam. Yeah. I'm talking the green energy economy with the renewables as an instrument of diversification, but I do believe that agriculture could become a very important driver of diversification. I think it is reported that the Honourable Prime Minister said we don't have land. And I think that is a very sad thing because we have such rich resources in the land. And so I want to say that the UNC government will make agriculture a driver of economic diversification. We will give agriculture the budget it requires to help in our country's economic transformation. We have singled out agriculture because of its potential contribution to our food and security needs, foreign exchange generation, deepening of sectoral linkages, management of the environment, and the fight against climate change. So this is not just about land, this is about food security, Madam Speaker, and it is about earning the much needed foreign exchange. For agriculture to thrive and develop in Trinidad and Tobago, it must become globally competitive, shifting away from primary agricultural commodities to higher value-added products. By focusing on agricultural commodities in which we have a distinct comparative advantage, and that's what we have when we say we have the resources, we have a comparative advantage. It is quite possible for Trinidad and Tobago to capture a larger share of the global agricultural trade market and boost agriculture's contribution to GDP and export earnings. Whilst I agree, tourism could be a diversification strategy. Madam Speaker, do we have a comparative advantage in that? No. All the islands in the Caribbean, what do we have? Sun, sea, and sand. Sun, sea, and sun. And some of those islands have better sun, sea, and sand beaches and so on that we have. What we have to look for is something in which we have a comparative advantage. For over 100 years, we had a comparative advantage, and guess what? Oil. Cocoa, yes, for the chocolate. So we must look for something that will give us that comparative advantage, yeah? And we can then get a larger market share, trade market, to boost the contribution of agriculture to GDP. We have several commodities where there is significant market opportunity and good growth potential. People are moving away from mega farms because they want to know where their food is coming from. This is one aspect of it, and how it's grown. So you know what they're demanding now? Organic superfoods. Correct. Turmeric, moringa. I think we have a different name for moringa. Saijan. I grew up eating saijan, but not eating. That's it's a long stem. Like you break it up and cook it. They're now eating the leaves, making tablets with it. I see moringa trees grow. Saijan trees, they grow so easily. They grow very easily. That is not like a superfood. Cocoa, which you mentioned before. Avocado is avocado, whatever you call it. Gluten-free flowers like cassava flour and green banana flour. I remember the Prime Minister once saying you must learn to peel cassava. But the gluten-free flowers from cassava and green banana flour, these are superfoods in great demand. We could grow these things. We have the climate. We have the knowledge, we have the energy, we could do it. They also demanded coconut water, other high-value cocoa. Products such as coconut milk, coconut butter, coconut sugar. They're willing to pay premium prices for these, Madam Speaker. When we had our coconut industry, I remember growing up, my grandmother used to make oil from the coconut. And then the colonizers come and tell us, you know what? Coconut oil, bad for you. Remember? Yep. Bad for you. But what? Import their soy oil and all the other kinds, corn oil, and use their oil and kill our little industry. They are now saying this is good for you, coconut oil. We will also revitalize traditional agricultural industries such as sugar cane, cocoa, coffee, and rice, but using an agricultural cooperative model in which both state and farmers...
Standing Order 53EX.
Give me water, please.
Reproach East and Caroni Central are disturbing me.
Member.
I can't hear separate.
Member.
Glad you want to hear.
Again, I remind you all, we have about an hour to go, and I wish we will all support the member for Superior by being silent and listening to the balance of her contribution.
Yeah, thank you so much again. I'm talking about in agriculture. So I said the model we can use is that of a cooperative in which both the state and farmers are owners of agribusinesses. And so I beg to differ. Unlike the Prime Minister, who was quoted as saying agriculture will never be as commercially viable as oil, I totally disagree. And therefore, I mean, things like peppers, madam. Every pepper you grow will be bought for export. Every pepper you grow. I have a counselor who lives in the Barco end. Pineapple, you have a niche market in pineapple. He has a large piece of land on pineapples, very, very profitable business. Pineapple, peppers, there are a lot of products, pawpaw, there are products that and pineapple is a very good one. There's what is called a niche market, there's a great demand for it. And with that, it's hard, you know, it will not mash up and blah, blah, blah. So we have a great, there's much more, but my minister, my MP with responsible agriculture will talk a little more in the details. The other one is renewable energy. Countries turning more and more to renewable energy. This is a growth area. This is a growth area we need to develop for capability and capacity. Innovations provide scope for generating wealth, sustainable jobs for the future. It is important now, since according to world indices, we consume about 9.6 gigawatts of energy. Renewable energy generation will mean more oil and gas will be available for export instead of consumed domestically, giving us a huge adding to the value chain of energy sector and becoming a huge source of savings and wealth, okay? Of course, providing jobs, which we need, foreign exchange, which we need. Therefore, as part of our plan, we want to protect this land and ensure that proper steps are taken to minimize the risks of climate change. So several benefits from renewable energy, which we can create, which we can sell, earn foreign exchange, we can use on the domestic market, and of course save foreign exchange from having to import all these products now that the government is shutting down. E-waste recycling, disassembly of computers, printers, etc., to cover reusables. Countries will actually pay you to do this. You can then resell the materials. You know, I'm sure in Trinidad and Tobago, the amount of old computers we have sitting down everywhere. Do you know that we can create an industry out of that to disassemble them, and then you can sell each part, the pieces of copper, whatever kinds of metals. These are things in renewables. These are things in the circular economy that I spoke about. Look at how much we waste and cause the flooding with the, these plastic bottles. Why don't we use recyclings for those as well and gain monies from it? The fifth I talked about, strategy, the return of good governance, Madam Speaker. All these innovations will require a complete overhaul in the governance of this country. But I would like to concentrate on the state enterprise sector for a minute, that we will need to do some reform in that sector. State enterprise sector, the reform in this sector. The main challenge to take command of our fortunes of a nation lies with reform in this sector. We recognize that many committed employees who work in companies owned by taxpayers, and a plan that ensures the long-term viability of these entities to benefit stakeholders. So what we can do initially, Madam Speaker, the model which has been tried prior in our market and in other markets like in Singapore, we start by creating a new entity. So you take a state enterprise. By the way, I have seen in the budget documents in revenue that the revenue from state enterprises, from having been in billions in the next fiscal year, these books here for 2019 itself has gone down to 500 million. I'll ask the Honourable Minister of Finance, if he would be kind enough to tell us why has the dividends coming in from the state enterprises dropped to such a small amount. I suspect part of it is because of the NIF, but that would be a very important point. So here we are. You take the state enterprises, we have many of them. The majority are not profitable. You create a new entity. Because we could decide if we need to change the name. Then the reformation begins to vest the assets of the old enterprise in this new entity, giving them a clean slate. You take the debts of the old company, if any, and that would be maintained in the old company. A debt strategy would be followed. We have our debt strategy workout can include renegotiation of the terms and conditions of the debt. At times, it can result in settlement of the debt for less than the face value. And then you capitalize a new company upon consultation with best-in-class plant property and equipment guided by leading industry. Engage private sector investors, and these can be from any part of the country or out, with the state in a governance structure. This approach would result in the state remaining as a player in all enterprises, but ensuring benefits obtained from goal-oriented professionalism that would emerge from synergizing with the private sector, and the state would thereby retain ownership. You then mandate the private sector investors and management to retain a profit and deliver dividends. Madam Speaker, Singapore Airlines is one of the most profitable airlines in the world. And what Lee Kuan Yew had done is exactly what I'm describing here. And what he said, listen, run the company, but you must make a dividend. And that, I heard him in an interview, in fact. I had seen a TV interview where he spoke about it, that they had to make the dividend. If not, go. And they did make the dividend. Company remains one of the most profitable in the world. So people can benefit from improved efficiency, business models, and so on, quality service and delivery, dividends to the coffers of the state. Productivity pay is another area that can be looked at. And that approach is, what I'm describing here is not the approach contemplated for Petrotrin, as revealed thus far to us, as opposed to the outright sellout of our patrimony at Petrotrin. That is not the model that I am advocating. Such an approach, however, we will not take with essential services, those state enterprises in essential services, such as those that have to do with national security and key utilities. There are scores of state enterprises. Many of them may be amenable to such a plan. From the State Enterprise Performance Monitoring Manual, there are 80 state enterprises, 44 wholly owned, 7 majority owned, 3 less than 50% owned, 26 indirectly owned as subsidiaries of the state. So this is a major area. The state should not be involved in, what is it, seafood? You have a company known as a seafood board. So you have, how many years? 80 boards. Running companies, you're paying salaries, you're paying for the board, you're paying for salaries and so on. No profit, and really, what are you doing with a seafood board? Maybe at one time it was a viable something, whenever it was created. I just use that as one example, but many of them really do very little, and it's not because the workers don't want to work, but really, that's not the way to be caught up in business for the government. The one other matter here, job creation. I have spoken about this before. To designate the East-West corridor as a special growth goal. We have a highly educated and skilled workforce along the corridor. They need jobs. We can target industries, food processing and packaging, manufacture of basic medical supplies, seals, needles, bandages, gloves, and so on. Why can't we do this? Create jobs for our own citizens. We can manufacture medical furniture, beds, trolleys, chairs, office and school furniture, home furniture, specialist chemicals for the oil and gas industry, garment manufacturing, foundry for precision casting, glasswork for manufacture of paints, household glassware, optical lens. These are things we can do. These are industries that we can create to provide jobs along the corridor when we designate it as a growth pole, special growth pole. Manufacture simple household equipment, simple electronic assembly. And you start simple, but as the workforce builds, then we will get more sophisticated. The other area I see that we can use for growth has to do with corporation tax. I have seen in the United States, and I've read, I've not seen, I've read, the Trump administration, what they have done is to reduce taxes. Reduce taxes. And what that does is attracts investment. Because you will leave a country, in fact, our tax rate is now higher than they have a corporation tax. Apple, for example, one of the largest companies in the world, Apple started to repatriate back into the US when they decreased the tax rates. Because Apple says, well, now look, we can go in, we can make money. We are at home. So we will implement a phased reduction in corporation tax over a 5-year period. The Because you see that corporation tax, you know, when the minister, I think when the minister came, he was saying, oh, this is for the small man. You had to tax the big man because you blah, blah, blah. Big man had to pay for small man. All of that is hairy-fairy. Hairy-fairy. In order to grow the economy, we have to grow the manufacturing sector. We have to have small businesses. We have to have big businesses. You cannot have productivity. You cannot earn foreign exchange. You cannot create the kinds of jobs that we need if you don't stimulate the manufacturing sector. And so, a UNC government on a phased basis reduce the corporation tax over a 5-year period. This will attract foreign investors. And there are 3 years in office, I mentioned it before, not one single foreign direct investment. And on top of that, not getting any. No FDI. No FDI. No FDI. You're borrowing money from China. The Mitsubishi plant happened under my watch. When you came, you stalled it because you wanted to negotiate for whatever reason. Yes. And so, reduce that tax. I mentioned earlier about you have net outflow of foreign direct investment instead of inflows. So here we are. This will attract foreign investors. It will give a boost to small and medium manufacturers, and so they will increase investment in plant equipment, efficient technology, and research and development. That's what we need to grow the economy. That's what we need to grow revenue. That's what we need to grow for Forex. It makes no sense to overtax our local businesses, taking money out of their pockets, only to inefficiently try to return it in directed subsidies. So you're taking it away here, and then you say, I'm giving you 50 cents a day. That is the joke of the century, and you know, all of them banging their desk. This minister says he's giving this grant. And when you work out the grant, it is 50 cents a day, 55 cents. Great deal, great deal. You know, if you go to the supermarket, I wonder if you go to the supermarket. If you go to the supermarket, you cannot even buy the bag to put the groceries. You can't even buy the bag without 50 cents a day. So don't come here and thump your chest and bang your desk and you're helping the poor man when you're coming to property tax him, when you set up the fuel price. And when the Honourable Minister could tell this country what he said about the fuel tax, it wouldn't hurt anybody. Or is it a good thing? Is it a good thing for people? It will help poor people. Where is he living? Already the prices have gone up. Taxi fares, like I have the route it's okay, but I have the route thing that they've given out. Taxi fares have already gone up. Already gone up. That's why I said they're living on a fantasy island, Madam Speaker. And so, corporation tax on banks in our plan will remain. Businesses know best and where how to allocate their money. Less government interference is better for improvement. Over the 5-year period, due to the phased basis, the impact on government revenues will be offset by increased jobs. Because you see, if they have more money, they will invest and there will be more jobs. When they have less money, they find workers, less productivity. Increased jobs will lead to a reduction of persons who what? Dependent on the social safety net, where you have to give these subsidies. Pretend you're helping them and give them 50 cents a day. In essence, taxing at a lower rate of a much larger economic pie as compared to taxing a higher rate of a smaller and declining economic pie, that will grow the economy, enable businesses to expand. Local businesses are at a great disadvantage at current taxation rates. Export capacity will only increase as some of the large export markets we are targeting have lower tax rates. I mentioned it earlier. And so we become uncompetitive. SMEs will go faster at these new lower rates, and new businesses owned by young entrepreneurs will be better able to get off the ground. So these are some of the parts of the plan with respect to the economy and growing the economy. But we also have plans, Madam Speaker, with respect to national security, with respect to healthcare, with respect to agriculture, and many of the other sectors in our economy. But I really want to spend a little time on Petrotrin, because that is the elephant in the room. For 3 hours, the Honourable Minister spoke, but did not engage on anything new about Petrotrin, about the workers, about where they were going or not going. I have just been handed a letter dated October 5th, 2018, today now, distribution of letters of termination. Based on overwhelming feedback received during this week's employee communication sessions, the interim executive transition team has decided to accelerate the distribution of termination letters. The distribution of these letters will commence this morning, October 5th, 2018. We want to, given the sensitive nature of this exercise, we kindly ask that everyone be at the ballroom point of the staff club at the time specified for them to collect their letters. How contemptuous. How contemptuous. You want them to come to the ballroom to collect what? Your pink slip. The termination letter, man. We want to remind all employees of the need to continue to observe the policies of the company, and in particular those policies that seek to protect the company's assets, its employees from misuse and abuse. Article F, appropriate workplace behavior, states, dishonest or illegal activities on company's premises or while in company business will not be condoned and can result in disciplinary action, including dismissal and criminal prosecution. Can you believe? Could result in what? Dismissal? Where you tell them, come and collect your fine letter. You've already dismissed them. Firing in HDS. The non-observance of policies could jeopardize health and safety and so on. Renal Arjuda Singh, Executive Director, dated today. You know, madam, people are in a courthouse. There's a matter pending before the courts and it will not breach a sub judice rule. But therefore this, in my respectful view, is a contempt of court. You know, Petrotrin has been the exclusive supplier of the energy fuel in our lives. From the LPG we cook with, the gasoline we need for our cars, a wide range of lubricants, fuels, feedstock and so on, downstream, medication, fertilizers, plastics and so much more. When I was researching for this debate, I came across something that speaks to the legacy of Point Brea refinery, and indeed is very relevant to our future, Madam Speaker. What is not widely known is that the Point Brea refinery helped win a world war. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese bombed the US base at Pearl Harbor. George B.B. Thompson was appointed officer in charge of Trinidad's operations, and the Department of Mines was mandated to organize the production of fuel for World War II. The refinery at Point Brea was then placed under military surveillance by both local and foreign security officials. Wartime demands for refined products had to be increased, and a new refinery at Point Brea was built in 1940. For security reasons, the project was named 1, 2, 3, 4, and was started and completed in 14 months. That is the legacy of that Petrotrin refinery. Helped to win a world war, Second World War, Madam Speaker. And given in our very volatile world, this is a very important thing. Energy security is exceedingly important. And this is how Point Brea refinery and Trinidad and Tobago was so important in terms of getting products to fight that war. I mean, the story goes on, the historical record goes on as to how much we actually produced and so on. So Petrotrin history makes it all the more difficult to accept the government's mismanagement of Petrotrin. We have seen mismanagement of similar proportions with the Tobago Sea Bridge. We have seen it again with Petrotrin. And in the end, guess what? It's sufferation. People are suffering. We are worried that the situation being created will allow the government to sell Petrotrin refinery at bargain basement prices to preferred financier. The Public Procurement and Disposal of Property Act 2015 has not been fully proclaimed by the government. I mean no disrespect to the office of the President and so on, since the procurement regulator falls under that office. But I intend to write Her Excellency regarding this matter, requesting her to exercise her power as head of state, to advise the government to hold their hands on the sale of any Petrotrin assets until that act is fully proclaimed. Over the past 5 weeks, tens of thousands of people rely on Petrotrin for their livelihoods, have woken up every day uncertain as to when the government would change the course of their lives with a fateful announcement on that day. And it happened today, Madam Speaker. It happened today. Tens of thousands of people now, those directly at the refinery and others. Many contradictory statements have been made. Even the number affected has varied day to day. One day 1,700, one day 5,000. It is outrageous, however, to suggest that only 5,000 jobs would be affected by disclosure. You see, no refinery would mean no transit through the neighborhood, through the towns and villages. No transport. Taxi supply in these businesses migrate. In other areas, businesses that are highly dependent on sales may also slow down. So when all the Prime Minister's handpicked chairman of Petrotrin can say, when he could say all, when you ask about how many, each and every one of those, I say, represents more than one person because they're families. Between August 30 and September 4, the Energy Chamber conducted a survey of 400 chamber companies, and they said 1/3 indicated they expected to retrench workers due to closing of the refinery. I have demanded from the AMA to disclose whether or not a certificate of environmental clearance has been granted for the decommissioning and the closure of Petrotrin's refinery as is required by law. The closure of refinery without satisfying legal requirements of the EMA Act will have catastrophic and cataclysmic effects on the environment. This is a matter of great public importance. It will affect every single one. So how did we get here? Part 1, 05 to 10. Problems at Petrotrin are the result of corruption and management of the P&M over the years. The government crying all over the place that they have to take US 850 million bullet payment to be made, another 250 and so on to be made. Well documented. These debts are debts incurred and borrowings made during the last P&M government. They pursued a strategy of pumping large sums of borrowed money into refinery while allowing the exploration and production part of the company to decline. This is why my administration, when we got into office, focused on E&P, went through that very aggressive incentive strategies to grow the economy. This is why we focus on E&P to bring back the country. The records will show between 05 and 10, the ill-fated and scandalous World GTL project ended with Petrotrin spending $3.15 billion. And when the case was brought, the case was before the court, this government withdrew the case to save one of their own, withdrew the case. So now the workers and their families have to suffer for what happened under that Petrotrin board, under Malcolm Jones. The GOP increased from the gas optimization, 2.4 billion in 05 to 12.6 billion when it was completed. The ultra-low sulfur diesel project rose 791 million to guess what? 2.89 billion. What was going on there? How could any government have sat down and allow these astronomical increase in cost overruns? And some of those sitting here were members of the cabinet. If I'm not mistaken, the Honourable Member for Diego Martin West, Diego Martin North East, Aruka Maloney were members of the cabinet who were the ones to oversee the cost overruns which have now saddled and strapped Petrotrin into the position it is here today. We saw a sharp decline in Trinidad's production from 33.5 thousand barrels per day in 05, went down to 22.3 barrels per day in 2010. The two international bonds I mentioned for a collective 1.6 billion US. Upon assuming office, you say, what did I do? When we got into office, we sued Malcolm Jones to try to recover the monies lost. When we got there, I mandated that a strategic plan be implemented at Petrotrin to ensure that accountability and transparency were the foundation of decisions. I've already spoken about our focus on exploration and production and the returns which are benefiting us up to today and will benefit us tomorrow. How did we get here? Part 2, 15 to 18. Petrotrin under this government has had 3 management teams in the last 3 years. Just like the Port Authority, Petrotrin went through 3 chairmen in 3 years. With so many changes, it is not surprising they have no consistent plan. They couldn't develop it or execute even if they had one. It is noteworthy under my watch that before 2015 election, Petrotrin was able to source an unsecured loan for US $500 million from 8 international banks. The loan required no government guarantee. This loan could have provided capital to help maintain stability at Petrotrin. You know what happened? Once they came into office, they rejected this measure, rejected the unsecured loan, putting Petrotrin into further problems. I want to tell you something that some of the falsehoods they have been perpetrating, deceptions and falsehoods. 1, Petrotrin has paid no taxes and is a burden on the state. False. The EITI made clear that between 2010 and 2016, Petrotrin made payments in the sum of $20 billion. 2011, it was 3.6 billion under my watch. 2012, 1.5 billion under my watch. 2013, 4.2 billion under my watch. 2014, 6.7 billion. 15, $4.1 billion. TTEITI has reported that the 4.1 billion can be used to pay every public servant's salary, pay for the gate, and meet the budget in the Ministry of Agriculture. I call on the Minister of Finance to clearly state the amount of any payments made by Petrotrin to the government for fiscal 2016 and 17. I have documents which show that payments were made, and I call upon the Minister to confirm or tell this country whether payments were made in fiscal 16 and 17. The EITI data is in public knowledge up to 2015. Further, 2, the refinery has not made a profit. False. False. At a joint select committee in February here in this parliament, the board told the country that Petrotrin had generated a free cash flow of $1.8 billion between the years 2013 to 17. Was the board lying? Do you think the board came here and lied to this parliament, madam? Or spoke on truths here? I know, but I wouldn't expect their board to come here to tell untruths to the parliament. So and further, the unaudited financial statements showed a gross of 1.1 billion. 2017, gross. Further false statement. The company is close to insolvency. They have announced that. The audited financial statements for 2017 show this is not true. How many are going home? Again, the discrepancy with the numbers and so on, which I've already said is so disgraceful and disrespectful to watch them. The numbers don't matter. What do the reports say? Not one single report, Lashley, Solomon, and whoever else, we don't even know who they are. Not one report that we know of recommended the closure of the refinery. All the reports that we know of, reports commission, they spoke to refining various processes to improve Petrotrin. They did not recommend closing down. I call upon the government to tell this country who advised them to shut down the refinery. Who advised them to shut down the refinery? Not one of the reports. And by the way, for these reports, they paid these reports and some other consultant $63 million. 20-something for one of them, but they had some other consultants. There were some other consultants, but a lot of money paid for these reports, and you did not even follow any of them. What you pay that money for? Why waste that money? Because they were telling you, don't shut down. We are giving you a plan to move forward. And when the people came here before the Joint Select Committee, they said that. When they bought from Petrotrin, they would have to close Petrotrin and ensure that no records would be found and so on. You know, Petrotrin would have to be closed. Why would they try so hard to mislead the public? What about the matter of the fake oil and the Prime Minister's best friend? Who is the Prime Minister's best friend? What implications are there in this matter? Are there any P&M operatives who are allegedly implicated in massive corruption of millions of dollars from Petrotrin? They would have to close Petrotrin to ensure those not Petrotrin refinery, that you don't find them. So where do we go from here? Where do we go? I spoke about the history of Petrotrin under the last government to highlight the differences of their government and ours. We took a failing Petrotrin and we turned it around to a success. I told you how much we paid in taxes and royalties. I've told you how we turned around for the gas and oil sector. P&M took a profitable Petrotrin, which was making tax payments, and they ran it to the ground. In less than 1 month, the tens of thousands whose livelihood depends on Petrotrin, well, I thought it was less than 1 month, but look, it's here already today. The effects of the closure of that refinery will have a contagion effect on South and Central communities and, in fact, on the entire financial system. Where will families turn? To whom will they turn when they have their mortgages to pay? How will parents tell their children they can't send them to school, can't send them to university anymore? What explanation will businesses give to their creditors when they can't pay, when their debts become due? This government has proven that it is not prepared to listen to the people. It is not listen to the people. It is not prepared to listen to the union. It is not prepared to listen to the experts. Because all the reports, not once they closed down. Their intent in selling out the assets of our country to a chosen few. This will be the greatest loss to our future generation. And as a people, we ought not to allow this to happen. Countless times the PNM has been voted out of government, you know, for what? For greed, corruption, bonding and debting us back into slavery to colonial entities. As each time we on this side, we step in, we have to pick up the pieces, mending the economy, creating opportunities. It is now instructed that the PNM will never occupy that PNM government again. The polls are coming in. Their own political pundits and advisors are telling them the same. The people want you out of government. So what do they decide to do? Mash up, destroy everything good in Trinidad and Tobago. What they think is that we will not be able to fix it. And as they laugh down on us more, they can run off to enjoy the spoils of this perverse feast. I want to assure you firstly, we will not stand back and allow you to destroy our country. When I speak with the authority of not just hundreds of thousands who voted against you in 2015, but the thousands more who have come on our side at this time. And even with the worst of the damages that you can do, let me assure you that I will once again lead the government with the experience, the innovation, the intelligence, and the heart for the people to work with them to overcome this period that they've gone through. And believe me, neither history nor the citizens will vindicate you. The country will never forgive you. With all the voices on the opposition bench, with the trade unions, the workers, the men and women on the street, the children in schools, on their behalf, I call upon this government. You must not close the refinery. You must look to other solutions. You must keep our energy sector and preserve our energy security. You must preserve jobs and retain our lands. You will not sell our assets. You will not be allowed to destroy our legacy in the petroleum sector, over 100 years old. You will not be allowed to sell out our patrimony. You will no longer be allowed to abuse citizens each day. We will fight you in here. We will oppose you in public, and we will take you to the courts, and we will win. And that is not the only reason that they will never forgive you. Again, you've put out a document, the Vision 2030, Vision 2030, this document. Very first time, after more than 3 years in office, faced by an anxious population, demanding to hear what you have achieved in your 3 years and so on. So we come up with a report on progress. I pray to God no one was paid to write up this report, you know. I hope it was free from P&M activists. To begin with, the document is produced at September 2018 and purports to give comparative data for 2018. How in the world can you assess achievements even before the year fiscal is completed? How? When one examines the data, it is very unhelpful to draw conclusions. I noticed in the previous incarnation they had Vision 2020. Government now has laid Vision 2030. I'm told that when someone has perfect vision, it is 2020. Well, when you have 2030 vision, you're going blind. It seems that the government is visionless. They have underperformed in every ministry, every sector, by their own admission when we look at the book. They've judged themselves, and after 3 years, when you go through this, you will be amazed. They have their own, on their own admission, exposed their own failures and non-performance. Let's take housing, for example. When I opened this document, I thought it was a joke. Every single indicator in the housing sector is, guess what? To be determined. Every single one, to be determined. TBD, here's a TBD document. 3 years, 5 housing ministers, including the Prime Minister member of the Garden West. If you cannot account for how many houses you inherited, how many houses you distributed, then something is terribly wrong. I don't want to be discussed just to the Minister of Housing, but we do know that he knows a lot about housing and apartments. This government is unable to say how many units completed, how many distributed, how many loans granted to purchase, or how many grants were disbursed in their own document. All of that is to be determined, all of it. They are unable to account for any of these things because guess why? They have done nothing. Not a single new home was constructed under this government. Finance told us there are over 176,000 applicants who have to get basic houses and so on. After 3 years, based on their own document, the data suggests they have not started and completed a single house on a new housing site not designed or developed by either my administration or that of former late Patrick Manning.
Great man.
Education, the Vision 2030 document told us Trinidad and Tobago ranked 48 out of 137 under Pillar 4 Health and Primary Education on the Global Competitive Index 2017-18. Well, that sounds really great. 48 out of 137, very good. You know what happened? How shocked I was because I wanted to go back and check this. When I went and looked at the GCI myself, 2017-18 to check it, you know where Trinidad was ranked? 60. So they fudged the number. Fudged the number or put out a blatant untruth. I hope it is a typo, because I really would not like to believe that a government will mislead by fabricating statistics in this manner. That would be tantamount to conmanship if that were the case. It shows that anything they tell us, we just cannot believe them. Madam, I'm only hearing she. I hope it's not me, it's another she, perhaps. Thank you.
Disrespectful, man.
Woman, read your thing. That's how he's...
Member for Diego Martin, Northeast. I heard that, and I know you know better. So if you will just stand up, withdraw it, and let's continue.
Certainly, Madam Speaker, I apologize profusely.
Member for Superior.
Thank you. This woman will read her thing and will continue to speak the truth.
Member for Superior.
Speak the truth.
Member for Superior.
Truth hurts, you know, madam.
Member for Superior. We've passed that. The member has got up. He has apologized, and I really don't think it is proper for you to repeat it. Let's go on, please.
Thank you, madam. I will continue to speak for the people. I will continue to stand with the people. I will continue to raise my voice here in this parliament in their defense. And no amount of heckling is going to stop me from doing that.
Yes.
So education, back to this document, the TBD document. I said that this GCI typo or deliberate to fool people. I can't see. We cannot believe them. They have done nothing for the primary education sector, nothing for secondary, and nothing for tertiary. My colleagues will go into more detail on this thing. Through the incompetence, schools remain closed. Since school reopened, children have to flush toilets. You know, they're taking buckets of water in the school. So do what? Flush toilet. The same day when we're reading big billion-dollar budget here. Many of our schools in disrepair. And then, of course, there's a high level of violence. When you look at this very document, their TBD document, the numbers of students who benefited from GATE in 2017 was 29,492. Do you know how many now? Do you know how many now? I remember election night 2010, a nice, beautiful child stand up crying, saying Kamla will embellish your house. Kamla will take away GATE. Kamla will shut down CPEP and so on. Who is taking away the GATE? Who is shutting down the CPEP? Look in the books and you'll see the allocation for CPEP, whether your MPs know it or not. They're going to get fired in your constituencies too. You don't think it's just mine, because they fired mine a long time. In your constituencies, the allocation for the CPEP has gone right down. In the other programs that where people could have a little job, yes, it's not the best job, but you could make a little money to feed your family. GATE, 29,492 under my watch. Now it is 17,924. When you put all of this together, property tax, fuel prices, not getting help for the GATE, for your children to go to school, huh? Taxes and so on, what's going to happen is sufferation. Sufferation under this government. And so, and then you want to say, you know, I thought the news was very unkind to the Honourable Minister, you know, when they said it was a small man budget. No, they said small man budget. I always thought he was a big man. I mean, I think it was disrespectful to the Honourable Minister. I will continue to read. So, here we are. GATE in education. And those numbers I'm getting from their book, huh, madam? These are not anyways in the TBD book. What this means is as the government shut down the GATE, they have displaced 11,568 students from attaining a tertiary level education. You know, this is not 1, 2, or 3, or 4, 5. Because I heard them when they said they took away the food cards from how many people? 18,000, and then they come in to give 50 cents a day or something. And you know, and then you just say that cheaters. You mean 18,000 people are cheaters? 18,000 you're saying in this country. If you got 100, 200, 300, 18,000 people, man. Not serious. You cannot be serious on the Prime Minister. On the Prime Minister, they're not telling you the truth. 18,000. And here we are now, these children in the GATE, 11,568 taken off. They were cheaters too. All these people know, man. I can't believe that. Their achievement in tertiary is to disqualify, disenfranchise 11,568 students. So you're not even training people for the jobs. We are heading over the cliff. Every year in healthcare, the minister tells us how many hospitals he's going to build, throw back to each budget, hear about the Arima Hospital, point, so on. There's a need for more beds. We hear cries about it. In this document, the TBD document, you know what happened? Nothing has been done to deal with the problem of provision of hospital beds. Their own document. Look, open the Couva Hospital. Open. You can get 230 beds immediately. We look at public safety and security. On the homicide detection rate, they don't have a target rate. So you don't know what is your target. Because that's how this document is made up. The target, the baseline, and the target, and then what the achievement is. So they have none. They don't have a target rate of what they want. But it shows that they have no plan, no target. So you're operating in a vacuum, and then to make themselves look good, you know what it is? They placed the target of the crime rate, detection for serious recorded crimes as 32%. You know where it was before? 31%. This 1% thing, I don't know what this, people get upset about this 1% thing, you know? So they're being deceptive with the stats. The 1% increase in the detection rate for murder is negligible by itself. And let us not fool ourselves, you know. Today, thus far as from before I came in here, the murder rate is what? 407. 408 now. 408. You know, since the Minister of Everything has been, Minister Young, sorry, has become the Minister of National Security, he has become the Minister of Nothing. We don't hear anything from him again. Murder rate at 407, 8 now. Not a word. I do have in my brief, which I will pass to my colleagues, to share with you our tremendous concern with respect to what has happened in the arena of crime, because that is one of the most important priorities, and we do have plans for dealing with this situation. And listen, come to this parliament, tell us about a uniform change. Well, change, we don't need a uniform change. We need a government change. Comes to tell us here that one way to deal with crime is what? Install GPS. Do you have short memories? Are you living here? We did that since 2014. Since 2014. So I was going through some of the TBDs, but I'll leave the rest for my colleagues. There's a lot. You know, but one of them that is the most ironic is this one, in foreign relations. There have to be, somebody has to be delusional, yeah. Delusional. You know what they said? One of the achievements is improving foreign relations. And you know how this, ironically, how are they doing that? Is by reducing the number of overseas missions. I mean, delusional. Achievement, improving foreign relations. How do you do it? By reducing overseas missions. Please explain that, please. Transport system. Again, falsehoods, huh? They said the baseline for transport, road, in 2015 was, guess what? 2.7 kilometers. Madness. The whole country knows that we built this highway here, the Valencia Highway, Diego Martin, all Caroni. I mean, 2.7 kilometers, only to make yourself look good because you really didn't build any highways. No roads. In 1 year alone, we built 1,100 roads we paved in 1 year. 1,100.
Where the money going?
Public utilities. Well, we're taking that. Taking that one. Public utilities in this book. In 2015, 93.6% of the population had water. Water to the homes. Yes, we were very ambitious and talked about water for all, but we were in their document. I'm taking that blame, that we had 93.6 water going to homes. We take that one. Taking that one. They have admitted no progress. When they're giving their thing, they have made no progress from 2015. Okay, my dear. Fiscal balance, well, there we go again. Fiscal balance, the year 2018 has come and gone. Minister promised balanced budget, gone and gone. But you look at the book, the same one. Oh, I'm sorry to lift it up. This Vision 2030 reporting. You know what it says about fiscal balance? In this book, the government, you'll see there is no target. There is nothing was done. There is no plan to balance the budget. If you no target, so you balance in budget in a vacuum, in a vacuum, you can't do it. And so a balancing, you're right, is balancing, left, right, balancing. When we look at the marginal job loss, can I just get a piece on crime, please? The promises and falsehoods. Yeah, marginal job loss. Just family part with some of our proposals to us here. marginal job loss, full employment, I spoke about that already. We have the best health care here. Best health care, madam. But every chance they get, they're flying off to the United States. We have the best health care in the Commonwealth. I wonder if they even understand what comprises the Commonwealth. 52 nations. I was chair of the Commonwealth, so I very well know it. 52 nations. Chair in office. Chair in office, I was.
She was.
Chair in office of the Commonwealth.
You wouldn't know that. Good one, too. You wouldn't know that.
I have about 3 minutes before ask them. But what time I have to stop? 58.
For all members who don't recognize, I'm on my legs. Member for Superior.
Thank you, madam. I repeat, I had the honor and privilege to represent Trinidad and Tobago as the chair of the Commonwealth, as the first woman. And I do thank the late Honorable Patrick Manning calling that election early, which allowed that to happen. I wouldn't hide that. Unlike you will hide how you became effective, whatever. You wouldn't tell us how you became, but we know. We knew. It was when then Attorney General. That is what happened. There's government in continuity, as we see. There's in some places. So here we go. I'm not going to get distracted. I have a lot of things to say. We have the best healthcare here. Fly off. I say, in the Commonwealth, I started getting distracted as zero. 52 nations, man. You know what some of those nations are? Canada.
53.
Gosh, come, I just have 20 minutes.
I'm sure you could rise above that. You
I'll
continue,
shout
please.
above it, ma'am. Thank you. We have Canada, best healthcare in Trinidad. We have Australia. We have the United Kingdom, New Zealand, India, South Africa. And we have the best healthcare here. Nothing is further from the truth. Fantasy. Fantasy Island. Fantasy Island. And what is so hypocritical is you leave everybody else here to catch. Have to wait so long to get appointments. Can't get bed in hospital and so on. And you fly off to California. Another one went to wherever it was, the USA. I mean, no disrespect to you, but that is reality. So if we have the best healthcare here, stay home. Why are you going abroad? Why are you going abroad? I don't understand it. Why did you send one of your P&M people from the THA to India with THA funds when there is no provision in law? There is no head, no line item for that to happen. Sent off to India. Why? And then you want to, then who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? Best healthcare here. And you can't give our children the surgery that they need, the life-saving surgery. To me, that is the most callous. And when asked if you will amend the law, when we did the law, that was historic law, by the way. When we did the Children's Life Fund, it was historic, the first of its kind in our country to help our children. Every law, you come here every day with amendments to law. All the laws, you come with amendments. Now, having seen the large number of children who are being left out because of the definition, when asked if you would consider amending it, Prime Minister would give no undertaking. I give the undertaking. I will amend that law. I will amend it. Gas price will be increase will benefit the poor. Taxi fares have increased. You know, and somebody sent me something about the number of vehicles. The minister originally said that no, these are the taxi. Well, they've already increased. Someone had sent me the. It is not true to say that the majority of vehicles do not use super. That is not true to say. I have the numbers somewhere, and I'll find anything on the fuel subsidy for me. It is not true to say that. Because the amount of liters of, here it is, on the price increase to the super fuel, the minister stated the cost of public will not be unduly affected. Prices are already increasing. And the numbers here, going up on the 8th, the super produced by NP far exceeds, I think it's by almost 1 million liters, the fuel from
Diesel.
diesel. Just find a piece with the, please, fuel subsidy. No, you don't have that data. This is from NP. But thank you for you are the TBD. Thank you for ordering us the help. Sorry. Yeah. So we have all of these here. We have all of these things that are promises and falsehood and so on. I will move on, Madam Speaker, to running national security. I want to get the proposals. Before I close, yeah, good. On the price increase with this $1, I'm saying it is not true from information I have that the majority do not use super. From the information I have, the majority does use super. Okay? Importation, yeah, that's it. Does use super, and therefore it's going to be widespread. I've already seen it going off into price increases. In terms of the, thank you. Yeah, this means that, here's the numbers. March 2017, March 2018, I am told the volume of super sold was 516 million liters. The volume of premium sold was 23 million liters. So it means that drivers of super versus premium exceeds by $100 million. I'm sorry, 23 million. Let me go that back, madam. Super drivers, they're selling diesel 516 million liters, yes? Super 516 liters. 23 million liters are, oh please, I can read for myself.
Yeah.
No, but they keep heckling and harassing. Heckling and harassing because the truth hurts.
Member for Brea.
Oh man, you all shouting at me and I must stay here.
Members.
I'm very tired of you.
Order. We understand this arena is one where there's banter, and I'm sure all members have a certain tolerance for that. We have a few minutes left. I would ask members to conduct themselves in a parliamentary way and give this chamber the decorum it requires. Member for Superior.
I thank you again, Madam Speaker. 516 million liters, super. 23 million liters, premium, okay? So 96% of drivers use super versus premium. And super exceeds diesel by 100 million liters. So from this data, from NP data, the majority use super.
Yeah.
And I would like to know why the Honourable Minister has changed his mind. Because on 8th October 2012, debating the appropriation bill, Diego Martin Notis said, can I get a page of this? Diego Martin Notis said, 101.2. I'm sorry. Diego Martin Notis told this House, yes, the petroleum subsidy was put for a reason. Minister remembers it, he's smiling. So maybe he'll explain why he changed his mind. It was put in to protect people, to help them to deal with the high cost of petroleum products. Few countries in the world that have a petroleum levy act. They do comparisons to other countries, but do not tell you that none of those countries has a petroleum production levy subsidy, where the oil companies are taxed on behalf of the people to reduce the cost of petroleum products. These are not my words. This is not fake news or alternative facts. This is a member for Diego Martin Notis who has turned around, about turn. Full circle. That's the turnaround, full circle, to put on this levy. So 10 minutes. Thank you very much. The social sector grants I've spoken about already. The fiscal measures, the fuel subsidy will definitely impact on everyone. The social sector grants I've talked about, you know, whilst I'm sure that these people, persons who will receive it, will be happy for the 50 cents. It's really a slap in the face when you are dropping all these other taxes and hardships on people. Okay, Madam Speaker, as I come down to the end of my presentation, I just wanted to share with you a few of the proposals we had for the health sector, crime, because it's too important to leave alone. Thank you. Right. Clearly, we will have to go beyond police stations and smartphones. Tell me when it's 5. Huh? Police stations and smartphones, and uniforms into deeper social and psychological issues in the fight against crime. Our philosophy is that we will invest in people, community, and by community we will build the nation. We propose the introduction of community and village coordination officers program, where officers will walk into the communities. This will be integrated with a technology backbone to ensure two-way flow of communication. We believe a fundamental principle of modern policing is that policing is a two-way street. Citizens are more likely to listen. A common thread you will find running all our plans is about education and training, invest in people. And so one of our proposals will be to allocate part of the campus at UWI, DB, for training of protective services, doubling as a faculty for both the public and training of protective services, certificates, diplomas, degrees in policing, postgraduate degrees. This will allow our servicemen and women to build sustainable and fulfilling careers to perform their duty to the nation. In addition, we propose that we accommodate at the UWI campus DB, part of it, that we use part of it for a forensic science center, and to create programs for forensic science as well, madam. Degree programs, diploma programs. We are in dire need of persons with training in forensics, and we are in dire need of a properly functioning forensic science center. Witness protection program. I am told that one of the murders recently was because, and this is down in my area, in my constituency, yeah, well, I think it's a Rudy, Dr. O'Neill. One of it had to do with the fact the guy was a witness and had he had given the police evidence. And they came in, that video is circulating, they just came straight and shot the guy. It was clear that they came directly for this guy. That was in Mahes Road, I believe. Yeah, Mahes Road. The witness protection program must be dealt with, properly resourced. The Justice Protection Act, we will repeal it and replace it to bring law into provisions, laws to operationalize a relationship with between our country and the CARICOM, others, and provide proper protection. We will bring legislation to white out corruption in protective services and a special court to deal with corruption in the public service. Protective services and public service. We will bring, yes, I'll make it recovery and come for you. And your Prime Minister's best friend, Adrian Gillin.
He's the next one.
Protection for victims of domestic violence. Protection for victims of domestic violence. We will need to, again, revamp that entire Domestic Violence Act. We'll take a community-based approach. We did it before, and we can do it again to bring down crime in Trinidad and Tobago, Madam Speaker. So these are some of the, my colleague here on my left will share some more with you. So, in conclusion, anyone who looked or listened to the minister's speech on Monday knows that the turnaround he speaks about is not real. It cannot be felt, it cannot be seen, it cannot be touched. It cannot be smelled, it cannot be tasted. So it's not real. Because we see and we know things through your 5 senses. That's how any human being knows the world, through your 5 senses. There has been no turnaround of empty pockets, no turnaround of empty kitchen cupboards, no turnaround of empty wallets, no turnaround of job losses, no turnaround of lackluster, incompetent performance of the government. Last 3 years, 4 budgets, they're already campaigning for the next election. The Prime Minister tells us he's not afraid to lose the next election. But you know, in the same breath, you know what the Prime Minister tells us? Balije House is run better than the government. I think everyone will agree with me that anything and everything is better run than the government. No amount of bravado, no amount of strong-arm politics and so on can change the reality that citizens cannot afford to buy school books. They cannot afford to put bread or Johnny Bake or roti on the table. Many of our citizens are fed up of the blame, of the excuses. They are completely fed up of the P&M. Their strategy is not to fix the economy, not to help the small man, not to create jobs, not to uplift the country. Their strategy is to stay in power and to keep enjoying luxury yachts, golf trips, and Mustangs. They do not care about your pain, the hardship you face. I have always told you, no one will control me. I am not for sale. I am here for all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct.
And everywhere I hear the same, everywhere we go, there has been no turnaround. Instead, as I said before, of a turnaround, all we get from this government is a runaround. It's not a turnaround government at all, but a runaround government. They run you in circles. They blame Kamla, blame the police, blame the public servants, blame the police, blame the teachers, blame the unions, the economists. And Lord knows who they will blame next. This is tragic and frightening crossroads we find ourselves. A government which appears to be destabilizing every sector, destroying peace of mind, livelihood, taking away democratic rights and protections. The government has breached its social contract, I said that already, by those who elected them in good faith. My fellow citizens have been repaid with betrayal and treachery, brutality, ingratitude, and inhumanity. When the Honourable Member for Diego Martin Central ended with a song from a foreign, not local performer, Diego Martin Northeast, my apologies to Ms. Maruka and to Diego Martin Northeast. Honourable Member for Diego Martin Northeast has ended with his song, not a local performer. It was not exactly reflective of the reality of the citizens in our country. So I want to offer him a song that he could have really ended with. And this is one by one by a former soca monarch. This is Voice. Tell them I don't need no strap to defend my people from wicked and evil way. So sit down, rock back, big man, look for a walk. You're too damn evil. If they distress my people, then. Sorry.
I know you're quoting. Yeah, remember, I know you're quoting.
Sure,
but when you quote, it becomes your words in here. And I think some of the words just mentioned, so if you could withdraw them, please.
I will draw it. So, if they distress I withdraw that particular word without repeating it. If they destroy my people, then fire, go burn them. Fire, go burn them. Madam, and can I kindly, through you, tell the member for Diego Martin Northeast, why did you choose that song? When we look at the lyrics of the song you chose, madam, that's a farewell song. The end is near. And so I face my final curtain. Today I say that the Honourable Minister is facing his final curtain with the delivery of that budget speech. And so, if we are to come out, my fellow countrymen and women, I speak directly to you. If you are really looking for a turnaround in this country, I say to you, turn your face to the rising sun.
Yeah.
Let the shadows fall. Let the shadows fall behind you. It is time to step out of the shadows. Original quote, if you want to turn things around, turn your face to the sun and let the shadows fall behind you. And I will close with a placard I saw when I came to Parliament one day. You know, Honourable Prime Minister always tells us, meet me on the pavement, meet me on the pavement. And the placard said, look, I will riot with my fingers. I call upon the Honorable Prime Minister today. Stop threatening people to come on pavement. Come out. Go meet us on the campaign trail. Meet us on the horses and let the people come into the voting booth and vote you out. Call elections now. I thank you very much.
Honourable members, I think it's agreed now is a convenient time to take the suspension. Honourable members, I think it's agreed it's a convenient time to take the suspension. So we'll take the suspension for lunch now. This House now stands suspended till 2 o'clock.